Yeah, $100, and he was saying you can buy a lot of candy with it.
What the fuck?
It's such a creepy way.
These people are creeps, and you're gonna do what they say?
I'm just gonna come down right to it and say, I don't.
He said that's a lot of candy.
I
Oh
we need to stick to
god.
the freedom argument, personal liberty, individual choice, because what's happening is, man, we're just slowly being pulled further and further into the mandates will happen no matter what. Because what happens is every day the media comes out with a new sensational fear-mongering story, a new thing that gets everybody who opposes the mandates arguing about that. We are being dragged leftward.
And more commercials about the drugs. That's something I'm thinking about.
I'm worried most about young people right now with the vaccine, with mandating it. And I mentioned the 44,000 kids in LA. They're going to start mandating it in more and more schools. More and more kids are going to be kicked out and pushed to online learning where they're not going to have those real interactions that promote growth in all sorts of ways. But I've interviewed several experts about vaccinating young people, including Dr. Jay Bhattacharya at Stanford,
I meant to
Martin
get
Kulderoff at
my
Harvard, multiple doctors, and they say that the myocarditis signal in young people is especially concerning. According to CDC data, I gave Lydia the link also in the email, in the email. But according to CDC data, the risk is about 1 in 5,000 for young men, specifically in between the ages of like 12 to 20. And so vaccinating, so 1 in 5,000 may seem like a small risk, but once you multiply that by millions of doses, then that adds up, and then you have, and this is no exaggeration, in my own city in Chilliwack, I've heard of 3 cases of young boys who, after the vaccine, had a seriously adverse reaction and were in the hospital because of cardiac arrest due to the vaccine. I'm not saying don't get the vaccine for your kid. Doctors, that I trust say if your kid has obesity, you should consider it, or if they have cancer,
Underlying conditions,
things like that. When it comes to healthy young boys, though, a 1 in 5,000 risk is not trivial, and we shouldn't be mandating it at all.
I think this is why I want to get to again. It's like we should mandate anything. We shouldn't mandate.
No,
chips.
we shouldn't mandate anything.
I'm not saying chips are happening.
Right? Quit telling people what to do. How about
we
that?
have the story for the
we shouldn't mandate anything.
The FDA is assessing whether the Moderna vaccine can cause heart problems in adolescents. They say the FDA is reviewing reports suggesting the coronavirus vaccine made by Moderna can cause heart problems in some adolescents, the company said on Sunday. This is not conspiracy. This is literally Moderna saying we have these reports. The FDA needs to review this. Moderna
Dude, they're trying to kill men. They're trying to kill men.
Children ages 12 to 17 in June.
They're trying to kill boys.
Receive 100 micrograms of the vaccine.
Because God works through the man. Evil comes through the woman.
But the agency has not yet made a ruling on the application, prompting speculation about reasons for the delay. In a statement on Sunday, Moderna said the FDA requires additional time to evaluate recent international analyses of the risk of myocarditis after vaccination. Okay, so if Fauci and Obama want to go to kids and say, go do this, and the FDA is literally like, we're going to review these reports, international reports about myocarditis, it is extremely irresponsible, and this is what pisses me off. I'm not going to recommend anything to anybody, but I certainly think it's fair to point out the New York Times has reported this. This is a month ago. They reported this.
Yes.
Asking Jen Psaki and Fauci, do these restrictions apply to people coming across illegally over the border? And his answer is very interesting, as was Jen Psaki's answer. And I hope that this wakes people up. I'm sure it won't, but I hope this wakes people up, because if we're doing this like uniform restriction and everyone's got to do stuff for everybody's health and you do it to stay protected and you're saving this person's grandma, shouldn't it concern you whether you're a conservative or a liberal, or you watch Fox News or CNN or whatever, you love vaccines, you don't? Shouldn't it concern you that they seem to have a different policy for people coming across the border illegally and they don't have the same mandates that our own businesses do? Shouldn't that concern any basic semi-functional human in America if you actually believe what you pretend to believe? I don't know. So I'm going to just show those clips, and maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, but it's interesting to me. Hopefully it is interesting to you as well. Second thing I want to talk about is Chris Cuomo got fired for backing his brother up, and I would say, as somebody who doesn't care for the Cuomo family at all, or really respect or trust them at all, it's probably one of the least offensive things that CNN has ever done, and it's just hilarious how they, I would say prioritize things where, Andrew Cuomo, the brother who was the, leader of New York, or the governor at one point before he had to step down or whatever, he did this nursing home thing. There was this huge nursing home scandal in multiple states, Democrat states, where they told people that were infected with COVID-19 to go into nursing homes. And, they had pretty high deaths in the nursing homes. It seemed like a pretty big blunder, but that was never a story. It was crazy. It was like, let's just talk about this other thing. So they almost never get it right, even when it's people I don't like. It's like out of the Russia collusion narrative, the Nick Sandmann stuff, like literally lying about Kyle Rittenhouse all the time and pushing fake news and hysteria and fear-mongering and just scaring the crap out of millions of people in America over this, this pandemic.
The Fauci flu.
Feeding them fear and just constant stress and chaos. This is probably the least offensive thing that they've done, but of course it's their number one priority. So, it was fun while it lasted. Cuomo. Third thing I want to talk about is I was listening to a Marcus Aurelius. I almost wanted to say podcast, but Marcus Aurelius clearly didn't have a podcast, the Roman Emperor. But he did write some sort of philosophical writings. They're called meditations. And somebody recorded them or spoke them out, recorded them, and now there's audio on YouTube. And it really made me think of two things. One, how pathetic our politicians are. And two, really how they're kind of funneling some of our strongest physically men to sports, where they're then under some sort of gag order. You have to follow the norm and you don't really speak out. They fine you and stuff. I have some interesting thoughts about that, but let's just play the clip of Fauci without further ado. Thanks for being here. Appreciate everybody. Let's listen to Fauci get questioned on border, restrictions.
Dr. Fauci, as you advised the president about the possibility of new testing requirements for people coming into this country,
if it was a real virus, you would do that, right? If it was a real issue.
Yes, because you know that the new regulation, if you want to call it that, is that anybody and everybody who's coming into the country needs to get a test within 24 hours of getting on the plane to come here.
Well, what about people who don't take a plane and just these border crossers coming in huge numbers?
That's a different issue. For example,
it's a different issue.
We still have Title 42 with regard to protection at the border. So there are protections at the border that you don't have the capability, as you know, of somebody getting on a plane, getting checked, looking at a passport. We don't have that.
Looking at a passport.
Get some degree of mitigation.
The virus checks passports?
It's a different issue, but we have some degree of mitigation. And this is like the smoking gun. I wish people weren't so caught up in party politics and stuff. Because, if you watch this and don't think twice about how they're mandating U.S. businesses, you literally have less freedom to opt out of this medical project/mandate than if you're crossing the border. Here's Jen Psaki.
Right, who just walk across the border.
Than the illegals. Anybody with a job or anybody who goes to school to get the COVID-19 vaccine, but you are not requiring that of migrants that continue walking across the southern border into the country.
Well, look, our objective is to get as many people vaccinated across the country as humanly possible. And so the president's announcement yesterday was an effort to empower businesses, to give businesses the tools to protect their workforces. That's exactly what we did. But certainly we want everybody to get vaccinated, and more people are vaccinated, whether they are migrants or whether they are workers, protects more people in the United States.
But it's a requirement for people at a business with more than 100 people. It is not a requirement for migrants at the southern border. Why?
That's correct.
That's correct. He said, "Why?" That's correct.
Should wake everybody up. It's like
she said,
he's
"Why?"
Like, so you're
That's
requiring
correct.
it for businesses
What?
with over 100 employees, but not for people crossing the border. By the way, illegally. Yeah, that's correct. She said, "Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Yeah,
we don't care.
Right?"
Yeah,
she
we
said,
hate
"That's
you.
correct.
Yeah, we hate the American people.
We hate
the
America
citizens here. If you're a Hispanic and you live here and you came here legally, we hate you. Every ethnic group. I'm not even trying to pander, but it's like, what a slap in the face to any American citizen, where it's like, you're forcing us to do something medically, acting like everybody has to do it, but you're not forcing people at the border. And I don't want them to force people at the border. I just want these people to leave us the heck alone, because nothing they do literally makes sense ever. They're not looking at the case count out of Florida, which is not mandating it. They're not comparing states that have high vaccination rate to low vaccination rates. They're not comparing continents and countries to high vaccination countries to low. Because if you did that, if you looked at Africa, they're mystified. Whoa, scientists are mystified. Why is Africa doing so well?
Why are they doing so well?
They have a 9% vaccination rate, according to news a couple weeks ago. We can't figure out why they're doing so well.
It's too hard.
Why is there a spike in Singapore? What's going on? We told everybody that this was going to be everything. And, I saw a funny comment, because apparently Dana White caught COVID-19 and his family caught it. And according to reports I read, he said he was vaccinated. But he's asking Joe Rogan for medical help. And I think his name is Jake Shields. He's an MMA fighter. He said, when is Joe Rogan going to replace Anthony Fauci? You know, it's semi a joke, but at the same time, they always make fun of Joe Rogan. But here's something that Joe Rogan constantly talks about and understands that the media never seems to talk about and understands. Once you catch COVID or once you're sick, once you have an illness, you know, regardless of if you're vaccinated or not, you want to know what to do at that point, because millions of people who get vaccinated are getting sick.
Yeah.
Millions of people who are unvaccinated are getting sick. And once you're sick, the last thing you want somebody to do is yell at you because you got the vaccine or yell at you because you didn't get the vaccine, because it's really something that you do beforehand. But once you're sick, there's other things that you could do to help yourself. So Aaron Rodgers, Dana White, Tim Pool, everybody's asking Joe Rogan for help because Joe Rogan actually cares and is like, hey, here's what I would do. Where does the media ever talk about this stuff? Do they talk about what to do when you're actually sick, how to heal yourself back to health? It's like, it seems like they're like 99% vaccine and like 1% lying constantly and saying that Joe Rogan's telling people to take horse dewormer, when that product, that medical product that they keep calling horse dewormer, if you go to the CDC website, it's mentioned over 40 times on the refugee page. 40 times.
On the refugee
page. They just not just keep lying and lying and lying and lying, and people are literally like, yo, Joe Rogan, what do I do if I'm sick? He's now the go-to, not because he's like the be-all end-all with medicine, because he actually understands whether you get the shot or not, you might get sick, and these people are trying to force vaccinate businesses with over 100 people and admitting that that's correct, that they don't even have the same policy for border crossers. I don't care how liberal or pro-medicine you are. It's like, hello, why would they have to do it to your business, but not for hundreds of thousands of people coming across the border? Like, they don't like you. And this is the weird part about the American system. I don't like China, no offense. I like the Chinese people. God bless my Chinese brothers and sisters in America all over the world. But as far as like communist China, it's not my ideal political system. But one thing I find fascinating before we move on is in China, if you go against the state, like if you don't like China and you don't like your country and you want to hate China, that's when the government gets mad at you. In America, it's the opposite. The government is weaponized against patriots who love the country. They literally don't want you to love the country. If I sat there and just was like, oh, I hate it here. I hate everything about it.
The government would be putting you on CNN.
And scream in the street. They're like, good job. And if I'm like, hey,
seriously.
I actually like this country and I appreciate like our
white
Constitution.
women
They're like,
and
whoa,
try to destroy
are you sure
our
you're not a
country.
terrorist? It's like, for liking the country.
For liking my
country. They have like a system where they're trying to stop people from hating the country. We have a system where we're trying to stop people from liking the country. I find it very strange. This is not Andrew Cuomo or Chris Cuomo, by the way. I meant Chris Cuomo, but this is Marcus Aurelius. I'm going to talk about him later, but I do sometimes think the Cuomo brothers think that they are Marcus Aurelius. I know, you know, in their heads, it's like this is what they think they are. Unfortunately, it's just not the case. But CNN fired, I always get them mixed up. Andrew was the governor. Chris was the idiot on CNN. CNN. Chris Cuomo. He got fired for allegedly, serving as a PR guy, kind of trying to help his brother with the sexual scandal or the groping scandal that he was going through.
I didn't realize.
It's funny because out of everything CNN's ever done, everything they publish, all the lies they've done, all the things they've been forced to retract, I would say this is one of the least offensive things I've ever heard, especially out of Cuomo, who lies all the time. The fact that he was helping his brother is, what a lot of people in families would do. I'm not saying I agree, but I don't know. There's so much stuff coming out of CNN. I just don't feel like this is like a top 50 bad thing they've ever done. And it's funny that he has to take the blunt of it. He's saying, Hill's reporting that Cuomo is, says it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to get fired from CNN. It's got to be embarrassing knowing that your company has zero ethics at all, but they just pretend to have ethics sometime when it takes.
And then it works against you because evil eats its own. Evil eats its own.
Why are we pretending to have ethics when it comes to me? We don't fact check stuff. We lie about Russia collusion. We lie about Nick Sandmann. We lie about Kyle Rittenhouse. We don't have ethics. Why are we pretending? Why are you guys drawing the line at Chris Cuomo? It's like people really don't have loyalty. I want to read something funny because Tucker Carlson had a little bit today on his show, and he referred to the Atlantic as a place for the ruling class to talk to itself. I just want to play the clip because I think it's so funny here. Let's listen.
We saw the Atlantic magazine, we knew it was curtains for Chris Cuomo. The Atlantic is owned by Steve Jobs' widow. It functions as a kind of modern social register, a place for the ruling class to talk to itself. And the Atlantic just...
He says it functions as a social register, a place for the ruling class to talk to themselves. That's pretty funny. But I guess he ticked off certain people and they just threw him under the bus. This is the lesson for the Cuomo brothers. God bless them, even though I'm not a fan. You know, there is no loyalty when it comes to the left or the far left. You know, they're constantly eating their own. You're never going to pander enough. You're never going to bow down enough. You're never going to lie enough. You're never going to brainwash enough. They're always going to eventually throw you to the curb. There's zero loyalty. And unfortunately, the Cuomo brothers found it out the hard way. And I guarantee Chris is sitting at home being like, I know we've done worse things at this network. Why are they acting like this is the worst thing we've ever done? Apparently, before we move on, Don Lemon is pretty upset. It says Don Lemon's CNN podcast and Chris Cuomo's podcast, The Handoff, faces an uncertain future, says Newsweek. So I guess, you know, who knew they even had a podcast? That sounds like a terrible experience. They hate Joe Rogan so bad because nobody listens to their podcast. It's so sad. They're like, Joe Rogan's drinking horse dewormer. Listen to our podcast. It's like, nah, I'm good. I'm going to listen to other people's podcasts. I had no idea they even had a podcast. That's so funny. They're like, all these podcasters are conspiracy theorists. Listen to our podcast. You're like, no, I wouldn't listen to you if you were the only television left on planet Earth and it was like stuck on. I would hit it with a hammer and try to break the screen so you guys stop talking. So, you know, I think that's pretty funny. They're like, what do we do about our podcast? I want to know how many listeners that podcast has. I'm guessing not that many, but good luck. Before I move on real quick, I just wanted to read this.
I kind of want to upgrade the Fireball.
This is like a little side note. I want to talk about Marcus
Shield's
Aurelius.
pretty good. I said I was going to upgrade the Crystal.
But real quick, this is one of my shirts. You can see it, but there's a reason I'm showing it. You can see Stay Blessed. I wore it yesterday, Stay Blessed.
Oh, my
Sorry,
Crystal?
it's backwards on Facebook. But I just wanted to read where it's made. Because some people say, I have American clothes. And a lot of times it's like made in Honduras or whatever. And it was even hard for me to find certain stuff. Because some things that I buy I thought were pure and they're lying to me or whatever. This is it says cotton harvested in the USA, cotton grown in the USA, yarn spun in the USA, knitted in the USA, fabric dyed in the USA, sewn in the USA, made in the USA, 100% pre-shrunk cotton. So that's my long sleeves. Those are I haven't really talked about that much, but it's all made in the USA, grown in the USA. It's very hard to find. I was pretty happy when I read that. I was like, oh, it's perfect. Like, it's literally made in the USA. Because they're like, they try to be like designed in San Francisco, made in Vietnam, and I hate that. It's like, just tell me the truth. So that's the long sleeves, dreamwear.com. You already got it, but the sweatshirts are almost, I'm not gonna say almost sold out, but they're under 100 each, and once they're sold out, I'm not buying any more for the winter. So thank you guys for supporting on that. I was listening yesterday to Marcus Aurelius' audiobook, which is a book he wrote and somebody read. It's not like he created an audiobook. I'm like, do you hear Marcus Aurelius' new podcast? They're like, he's been dead for a long time, but he's a famous leader. And
one more.
I was
upgrade.
like, wow, is this true?
I'm thinking about upgrading my other Fireball. We used to have like leaders that had like more morality and intelligence, and I thought of two things. Like back in the day, nothing was politically correct, and everything was like war, and it's not great in many ways, but in many ways the cream rises to the top. I feel like so nowadays. If you get to the top of the Democratic Party, if you look like Chuck Schumer or Nancy Pelosi, or you look like Mitch McConnell, I thought so.
I don't think you're the most ethical, amazing person in the world.
This might be really bad.
A lot of these people are not in shape. Marcus Aurelius, all these people look like bodybuilders and like gladiator athletes. And you look at like Ralph Nader, and you just look at his diaphragm and his. I don't like to be offended, but when I look at Ralph Nader's diaphragm and how high his pants go up to his face, I feel offended, and I don't like to be a snowflake and be like, oh, I'm offended, but I am offended by, Ralph Nader, or I don't know how to say his name, Jerry Nadler, I don't even know his name, Jerry Nadler. I'm offended by his fashion sense. It's just disgusting. And like Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell, these are not the most amazing Americans that are like mind, body, soul,
that's not
spirit.
doing as
They're
much as I needed to.
Down with like, being good and using the body God gave them. These people are like the biggest sellouts on planet Earth. It's like, how much money can we take from these corporations? How can we finesse these deals from the banks, from Big Pharma, from the weapons manufacturers, from left wing to right wing? The people at the top of the pyramid are not the most impressive people physically, mentally, or spiritually. It's like they're the biggest sellouts. It's like, who was able to play the game? Some people look at Kamala Harris and they're like, how did Kamala Harris get there besides the way that everybody knows she got there? But it's like, how did she rise to the top? You know, there's a lot of women in this world that are funny, interesting, likable. I would say there's tens of millions of amazing women in America. Kamala Harris does not strike me as one of them. She seems fake. She always like laughs awkwardly. Like it's like she's like role playing a human who's like trying to be funny or something. Where it's like Zuckerberg, sometimes he seems like he's like, I'm just a human just like you. I created Meta, and you're like, I know you're a human, bro, but I'm just saying it's like sometimes it doesn't come off like authentic. But he did a good interview with Gary Vee, and he came off like way more normal. I think it's more a style. I don't know what they're doing to him there at Facebook, but you know, with Kamala Harris, it's like she's role playing what somebody cool would look like, but nobody believes it. So how do you get there? You get there because our system is so screwed up. You don't have a system like back in the day. You had to really rise the ranks. It's like, who can lie the most? Who can suck up the most? Who can keep their mouth shut and just play politics and play middleman and, you know what I'm saying, do the slimiest, grimiest climb to the top. And all of these people look and sound disgusting for the most part. I'm not going to say everybody. There's some good lookers in there. But for the most part, I would say not really. And I'm not trying to be mean because it's not about looks. But, you know, everyone's like, oh, AOC, it's like because she's young and she looks good. But it's like if you look at her eyes and it's like I wouldn't look twice if I saw her. I'd be like, yo, this. If my vision was blurry, I would think it was a pigeon at first. You know, like Elizabeth Warren, her and AOC have the energy of like a pigeon when I'm out at outdoor Chick-fil-A and they're trying to like steal my food. I'm like, go buy your own food, pigeon. But like these people, it's like, wow, this is amazing. This is the most beautiful thing. It's like, yeah, because you're putting AOC next to Nancy Pelosi and Jerry Nadler. Yeah, she looks like the greatest woman ever compared to, you know, Dianne Feinstein. So, you know, it's like not the biggest winners over there in many ways, but, you know, sidetrack, I don't know why I got side noted by that, but, you know, back in the day, I feel like some of the most, like, impressive people rose to the top because that's what it was. People were at war, people were, you know, competing philosophically. Some of the greatest minds were coming out of, you know, Greek, Roman, these philosophers that were really, like, high-level thinkers, and they would rise to the top of society sometimes. Sometimes they'd get killed like Socrates, but for the most part, you know, a lot of times they would rise the ranks. And I thought about it today where it's like back in the day, you could be like the top general, and it's like I'm the general who led the way in the war, and everybody respects me because everybody knows I'm the best, and I'm victorious. Not like, oh, I sucked off so much money from Big Pharma that I'm going to be the special boy that, you know, gets chosen by the corrupt party. That's not how it used to be. And I was thinking about how sports is kind of a psyop in multiple ways. I love sports. I love playing sports. I love watching sports. Being a professional athlete has got to be one of the greatest things ever. You get to play a game that you love for your life. There's nothing wrong with being a professional athlete. I think it's amazing, and I love sports more than anybody. I like watching sports. I like playing sports. I'm a sports fanatic. I'm an athlete connoisseur. But I do find it interesting back in the day, probably like the strongest men mentally and physically were leading nations, fighting for their country, you know, doing stuff where they were really holding it down. Like, you weren't like this jacked bodybuilder that was like clearly the strongest person in your society, and you're like, yo, go throw a ball to the side and like we'll fight our own wars. Like, you just go throw a ball.
Right.
And I don't think it's just throwing a ball because I love sports. I'm not trying to knock athletes because I think it's impressive, but I'm saying like you used to use your physical and mental capacity to really help your country in the best way, and now they put you in an arena and they give you gag orders. A lot of times these people in the NBA and NFL, they sign things to say, if you talk about us, you get fined. If you talk about this, you get fined. We're going to put you in an arena and we're going to paint Black Lives Matter in it, and you're going to wear a Black Lives Matter shirt, and if you speak out, we're going to crucify you in the media, so you better shut your mouth. Aaron Rodgers is super smart. Yeah, you better shut up, Aaron Rodgers, because if you start talking too much truth, we're going to ruin your life for sports ball. So, you know, even Colin Kaepernick, they tried to ruin his stuff, but at the same time, you know, I feel like he didn't really know what he was talking about, and time has proved that. At first, I was like, I get what he's saying, but now I'm like, oh, okay, this guy's an idiot. But I do semi-agree with him in some ways. I don't think it's like slavery. He's like, oh, it's like slavery. He's comparing the NFL to slavery, and I think the funniest thing I saw was like, he was trying to rejoin the NFL, where if you quit the NFL and you say, yo, the NFL is slavery, I'm out. I would be like, yo, respect, I feel what you're saying. But it's like, yo, it's slavery, but I want to be in the slavery thing again.
I want to be in the slavery thing?
Like, if you really think it's slavery, stop trying out to try to make
why would you be there?
When you started throwing a fit, no offense, you weren't the number one quarterback. You weren't Tom Brady. You were a bench player. So, he waited till he was a bench player to throw his little thing. If he would have done it as a starter, I would have had more respect for him. But now he's like, it's slavery, but, I'm going to keep showing up and throwing my ball and hoping that they'll pick me for their team again. It's like, doesn't make any sense. But, however, I do think it does make sense where it's like they are controlling these people in different ways. So they groom some of our best physical talent in America. They don't really serve our country in any beneficial way. They serve the media. They serve to entertain aside from what's going on. And then also they're kind of silenced if they ever want to go against all of these BS narratives that are being pushed by the NFL and NBA. These are politically motivated organizations that push a social agenda that goes against our Constitution, our country, our freedom, and they act like they're not doing it because they'll wave a flag every now and then for the veterans because that's a big part of their money too. But if you really study these organizations that they get behind, like Black Lives Matter, it's the perfect disguise for politics because it seems like a racial thing and you're like, oh, I'm just trying to stand up for the innocent. I'm trying to stand up for the minority. But if you really research Black Lives Matter, it's not just people who watch Fox News who are saying it. It's true. The founders have admitted that they are trained Marxists and that they were studying Marxists. I forget his name. Something Mann. I forget his first name, but his last name's Mann. You can watch interviews. He's very influential in teaching them these ways. So they're using fake black activism to really push a political agenda that goes completely against how America was founding, what made America great, what made societies like Marxist great and Greek philosophy great. Every great society ever, I'm not going to say they have everything in common, but everything that made them great, these organizations stand against. And the NFL and the NBA are pushing these organizations. So you have, instead of your strongest men physically and mentally rising to the ranks of president, you have the most disgusting slobs, and I mean disgusting mentally and spiritually as well, but the most disgusting slobs rising to the top of politics because politics is no longer about how strong you are and about how smart you are. It's about what a piece of trash you are and how much money you could suck up and how much you could lie and how much you can deceive conservatives into thinking you love America and how much you can deceive liberals into, that you love minorities or something. And that's all they do. They're the worst people. And some of the physically strongest people are playing games where the league is pushing them in an agenda that they're not allowed to really speak out against without having, some major either financial or social backlash. And I found that fascinating. That's why free market competition, in my opinion, is so important. Because
double
in general,
equipment though?
If you don't have competition, that's where these disgusting slobos, they use race, they use vaccines and viruses, and I'm not saying they're not real. I'm just saying they use that as an excuse to not be challenged. It's like, oh yeah, there's a virus, so now we're gonna act like communist China. I mean, we have to. It's like, yeah, last year we were free. This year we're acting like China. We're getting worse than them in some cases, but it's because there's a virus, and we're gonna extend it forever because we need to do that. It's like, this is where free market competition. Marcus Aurelius would have been like, no. But he was super moral, super wise, and I can't say everything he did was amazing. I didn't live at those times, but listening to him speak, I was like, man, that's crazy that someone that's that profound and that wise and that, soulful, believing in God, or I believe they use plural gods, but at least they believe in something. And, he's talking about all this stuff, like how to listen to your elders, how to learn. I'm like, I've never heard anything as smart from any politician in our era. It's all just like, I did the vaccine. I'm a smart boy. Like,
I'm a smart boy.
Like, this was, I don't know how many years ago. I would have to look it up to be accurate. How many hundreds or thousands? Look up when Marcus Aurelius reigned. I could do it right now, but it's a long time ago. To be factually accurate, I can't give a specific date. And this guy, has like a 5-hour presentation of like explaining everything that makes total sense, like morally, spiritually, logically, philosophically. And you have Donald Trump on television like, I did the vaccine thing and I saved the world from Spanish flu. I saved flu. I saved the world from the flu because I shut down the world and did the vaccine boy. And I'm the special boy who did the vaccine.
I'm the special boy.
Donald Trump is so smart. And then like people are like, orange man, bad. Joe Biden's good. I'm like, how dumb do you have to be to think that Joe Biden is like smart? Joe Biden is the dumbest person I've probably ever seen. Like, he is such a clown. He is such an idiot. To the point where all of these idiot politicians, the whole reason
not
we like
Madison.
Donald Trump, we didn't ever think he was like the greatest thing ever, but we're like, man, you guys are so bad that Donald Trump, he's a superstar compared to you, and he still is. He's still funny and interesting. So he sticks out like a sore thumb, but it is kind of pathetic now that he's turned into a vaccine salesman on a constant Johnson & Johnson and
Don't
Pfizer
kill
world
me.
tour. He just can't shut up about it. He's like in Europe now with Nigel Farage. I saved the whip, okay? I saved the whip with the whip. It's like, we get it. We get it, Orange Man. We get it. You love vaccines. You funnel money to Big Pharma. You're a slob. You're a slob of a politician just like the rest of them. Like, you're not talking about anything smart. You're not talking about diet and exercise and physical fitness and mental fitness and listening to your elders. Me. He's such a selfish imbecile. Compared to a leader 1,000 years ago who was physically more fit than him, you know, mentally more fit. Someone said, I am the science. Yeah.
I am the science.
You know, Fauci's another one. It's like these people, they don't want to be questioned. They fight with each other. And I just had that revelation. I'm like, there's multiple reasons that we don't have leaders like this. One is because of political correctness and softness, where you don't have people really competing anymore and like fighting for freedom and fighting other countries, where like you really realize who the real deal is. Like, we don't have that type of culture anymore. Some of our most physically fit people are not serving our country in any way. They're just kind of serving as a distraction and shutting their mouth so they can play for major corporations who sell us out to foreign countries and domestic corporations. You know, you have some of our smartest people, like my friend, I'm not going to say he's the smartest in the world, but he wanted to do science, right? And I said, who are you going to work for? And he's like, well, probably like an oil company or the government or something, because that's where all the money is. So it's like our most, you know, some of our smartest scientists are just working for big oil or big climate change or big government and, you know, working for an NGO or something. It's like we're funneling all our talent mentally and physically to things that aren't really benefiting our country. And it's like, I was like, man, I can't believe this guy led a country. I'm like, that's epic that someone, you know, at one point, people who actually weren't complete idiots and took care of themselves mentally and physically got to lead the nation because they were clearly like one of the smartest people. Nowadays, it's like the opposite. Everybody I talk to is smarter than politicians. I'm not even saying that to pander to my audience, like, oh, you guys are so smart, everyone's so dumb. I'm serious. Any event I've ever gone to, Politicon, Trump rally, you know, like a music concert, everybody I talk to is smarter, more interesting, better than any politician I've seen. There's some losers every now and then, I'm not gonna lie, you know, not everybody's amazing, but seriously, like, I was going to these events and like I'm talking to people, I'm like, I like you better than any politician. I talk to somebody like left wing, I like you better than CNN. Like, I'm like, what is it, like the worst people rise to the top of this society? The worst people work at CNN, the worst people work for our government, the worst people join politics, and like the average person is literally like, you know, so much like more normal and sane than these people.
Madison,
I'm trying to put it together.
Over.
Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'll answer a few and then I'll leave. But I think it's a combination of sending our physical talent to go play games for corporations that shut them up and push them in a social agenda and brainwash them. You know, our mentally fit people are, you know, being funneled through the education system, and then it's very hard to make a living in science if you don't go with the government narrative. If you're the smartest scientist like Kary Mullis, they censor your content. This guy's got a Nobel Prize for inventing the PCR test that they're jamming up tens of millions of people's noses, and I can't even make a video about him. This is how sicko these disgusting, slobby politicians are. It's like, not only are they not mentally impressive, but they think they have the right to like shut people up who are more along the lines of Marcus Aurelius than they are, and these type of leaders, you know, the Platos, and, you know, even in Eastern philosophy, you had a lot of Taoists, and there's Confucianism. There's a lot of very smart philosophies out there that are hundreds and thousands of years old, and like these people who run our society are complete jackasses compared to these people. It's so wild. But I was like, geez, I would love to go back in time and see what it was like to have like one of these smarter and better people be your leader, as opposed to the total opposite. Let me know what you guys think. I'm gonna close this for now, move this off to the side a little bit, probably move front and center, and then that's what it is. I will be back soon. Hopefully you guys like my Rand Paul video as I'm looking for questions and stuff. I just want to say real quick, most people kind of got what I was saying, which is cool. Some people were a little upset at the video. They were like, yo, he was never, you know, you're lying about Rand Paul. He was never anti-vaccine. I'm not asking him to be anti-vaccine. That's not the point of the video, my Rand Paul video. If you watched it, I never claimed that he was anti-vaccine, and I don't care if he's anti-vaccine. That's not what I demand out of him. What my problem was, you know, it's been almost 2 years now into 15 days to slow the spread, and we're still being forced mandates, and we're still being oppressed, and millions of people, even in Republican areas, every single day, somebody messages me, what can I do? I live in I'm in South Carolina, I'm over here, and my family's facing government mandates. We don't know what to do. It's happening all across the country, and really what we need right now is to redirect the narrative. So he's up there exaggerating and basically lying, acting like the cases are so low in April when they weren't even close to that in May, and it was just for 2 days in May. You know, he's acting like we need a new vaccine. It's like they can't even control this one, and they just want to force more down our throat. I don't want him to be anti-vaccine. I don't care if he takes it, but I find him to be quite the little sneaky snake. He himself, I don't know if he's vaccinated or not, but he's pushing the narrative, oh, I don't need it. You know, I have natural immunity. But then he's on television saying he wants the new one and they need to cut more red tape. It's like, dude, pharma has so much tape cut for them. The nicest thing that government and pharma could do for us at this point, they have medication, they have vaccines. The nicest thing they could do is just leave us alone. Seriously, leave us alone. Stop cutting red tape. Stop acting like we need you so much. Leave me the hell alone. Government and big pharma, I promise you, I will be healthier, happier, and you guys are driving our country into hysteria. They're destroying the stock market again. They are imploding our economy again over a scare, over a mild virus that someone vaccinated in California has,
someone
and 4
vaccinated
vaccinated people got in South Africa, and these imbeciles are on television telling us we need a new vaccine, or it's the unvaccinated spreading this virus. It's complete and total horseshit. So just leave us alone, bro, because this is unsustainable. So I never said he was anti or he has to be, because I'm not anti. This is a false framing or a made-up framing. It's like, this is just what the Republicans do. It's like liberals, you know, set the stage and throw us halfway to hell, and Republicans just, oh, what if we only went a quarter of the way there? It's like, dude, go the other way. Just stop. Someone said I bought more toilet paper. It's very smart.
Very smart.
I'm gonna wrap myself in toilet paper and act like a mummy. I'm gonna be like, what are you doing? I don't know. I keep watching the news and I just don't. They're like, no one.
Wow, she actually got into Ultra.
They're like, yeah, I know, but I just figured maybe it would protect against some. Well, fact check. That's not true. I'm just joking. Calm down. Have I seen the new book from Robert Kennedy? Absolutely. I own it. It's somewhere in this house. I don't know where it is, but I own the book. I read it. I saw Tucker Carlson talked about it. Someone said Rand Paul got vaccinated. Awesome. He should get the new one and the new one and the new one. It's like, that's fine.
Right, I don't care.
Disqualified. I'm not voting for him. Not because he got it, but he's acting like what America needs right now is a new vaccine. What I believe America needs is somebody on the right with some balls who says, bro, what are you going to do this forever?
Right, we're going to do this forever?
We're living in a hell world. They're not going to stop. They're only getting worse. And once again, I predicted this. People are like, no, I live in a Republican area. It's fine. There are millions of government workers being forced vaccinated in Republican states. This isn't going away. So we need somebody pushing back against the narrative a little bit. I don't care if they got it or not, but we don't need a new one. They have enough money, they have enough power. Leave us the hell alone. Someone said Newsom brought the variant from Mexico. Yeah, I don't know about that, but that's pretty funny. Someone said our leaders are so selfish. The greed is blinding them to the fact that they're financially destroying the country.
We'll
for
run
sure.
this.
Here's what we can do, because everyone always says, what should we do? Run for office, what should we do? People gotta call them out like I am, you know? It's just like, call them out and they'll stop doing it. Right now, a lot of these people are power drunk. Like, you know, it's like, it's a show about them. And you see that, like, if I listen, and I say this, I know this is gonna bother people, but it is what it is, I don't care. If you listen to Trump talk to Nigel Farage, or you listen to any of Trump's interviews, you would have no idea what's going on in Australia or Austria or Germany or America, or the fact that there's health cares in Louisiana that are trying to, you know, penalize people for not getting this injection. Like, he doesn't care about it, like, at all. It's like, if you listen to him talk, it's about him. Me, I got cheated, I did this, I did that, me, I saved the world, me. Like, Trump is a disgusting, selfish pig, honestly. He's so gross. I thought he was cool and I thought he was a real deal. I'm like embarrassed for him. He is such a narcissistic, egotistical buffoon.
Yeah,
Marcus
that was
Aurelius
weird.
would look at him and be like, "You're disgusting. You're a disgusting clown." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm so smart. I'm a boy. I went to school." Like, Trump is such a loser. So, you know, he doesn't care at all. Like, it's like if you listen to him talk, you wouldn't even know that this stuff's going on. Like, he doesn't weigh in on it because it's not about you, or it's not about the people of the world, or it's not about what's going on to America. It's not about millions of healthcare workers who are looking for support from him. It's about him when he talks. He's such an idiot. Like, seriously, it's embarrassing. And then you have Joe Biden. And then you have, and this is where we come in. You have, I wouldn't say half of our country, but clearly millions of people think Joe Biden is somehow good because they hate Donald Trump so much. Oh, I hate Donald Trump so much. Joe Biden's really handling this pandemic. Like, what? Joe Biden said he was going to, like, oh, I'm going to control it. How are you going to control? He lied his way into the White House, and things got bad, and you believe that, you know, Biden man was going to save you. And you have millions of people seriously thinking Joe Biden's going to do something, or that Democrats are in the right for their authoritarianism. And then you go to the right wing. I follow all of these right wing accounts. They never tell the truth about the right wing. They never call out Trump. They never call out the leadership. All they do is slobber over him like little disgusting puppy dogs. So it's like, you know, you get with your country what you deserve. You're not going to get a Marcus Aurelius leader when the average person is overweight and doesn't take care of themselves and is a complete mess. And I'm not making fun of people. I'm just saying, like, you know, the net sum of your country ends up manifesting itself in leadership at a certain point, and we've gotten less and less healthy, and our politicians have gotten more and more disgusting. They match us. Biden matches his face, and Trump matches his face. I'm not trying to be mean, but it's like, you know, you got people, like, there's very small movements, maybe like fringe libertarians and some people like that are really like, yeah, this is not going to work. But like 90% of people, one way or the other, they think the Democrats or the Republicans are going to like save them. You know, there's even people in this comment section. It's like, you're not going to get a real leader ever because you are literally like, he's the front runner. Like, I want to read something real quick, and I don't care if people get upset, but I'm just going to read, like, this is literally the logic that's going through the minds of millions of Republicans. Donald Trump is the clear front runner. I'm just going to read it real quick, because if you really think logically about it, it doesn't make any sense. You're going to get screwed over again. Let me read it real quick. Let's see. I say Republican logic, this is what people are saying to me. The only way we could get the country back is to slobber over the same guy who gave it away in 2020, who has since been running around conservative media talking about how Big Pharma saved the world. Are you sure only Democrats are brainwashed? You get what I'm saying? It's like, people are like, no, Emily. The only way to defeat Joe Biden and Big Pharma and all this tyranny and like the global cabal is to put the guy back in 2020 who proved that he was completely worthless, didn't do anything, literally did a 180, and now is running around the world with his leadership saying, I did it, I saved the world, my vaccine's amazing. Like, if I'm not trying to be mean, but if you're that dumb to think that Donald Trump is your guy, you deserve to lose the whole country. Like, your kids and your grandkids' kids, they're gonna suffer because you're so stupid. I'm not trying to be mean, but it's like, you could think he's better than Joe Biden because he is, but if you're like, that's who we need back, is the guy who, you know, blew it in 2020 and is running around the country selling vaccines. How are you going to fight Big Pharma tyranny when Donald Trump is literally the biggest suck-up to Big Pharma? He makes Bill Gates look like freaking JFK. Like, that's what a pathetic idiot Trump is. Seriously, I don't know a single person that sells the vaccine harder on television than Trump. He's on a world tour. I did it. I saved the world. Even Bill Gates wouldn't say that. Like, Bill Gates is not trustworthy, but he's not even that stupid to be like, he's a little sneakier and has like, oh, what did I do? You know, he's got like that type of energy. Like, even they're probably looking off camera and they're like, bro, what do you mean you saved 100 million lives? How did he save 100 million lives, guys? Go to the least vaccinated continent in the world is Africa. And scientists are mystified that fewer than 6% vaccinated in Africa. This is from November 19. This is straight from ABC. It says fewer than 6% of the people in Africa are vaccinated. For months, the World Health Organization has described Africa as one of the least affected regions in the world. One of the least vaccinated places is one of the least affected in the world. And Donald Trump is claiming he saved 100 million lives. Donald Trump is a liar. And all these Republican accounts, all they want to do is sell Let's Go brand. Oh, let me sell a Let's Go Brandon sweater. Oh, we're so cool. We're so impressive. It's like they're leading you to hell, okay? So I'm not trying to be mean. Someone said energy efficiency was huge. For sure, he did a way better job, but I'm just telling you, like, this mess is not going away. Your energy's not going to matter if you're never free again. But yeah, I would prefer Trump over Biden. You know, I think he was definitely better with energy, but you're going to get the leader that you deserve when people start acting right, you know? It starts from here, and then it manifests into the world. But right now, closed borders is huge. The borders were never closed, though. I mean, Biden's doing a worse job. He's letting hundreds of thousands of people through purposely. But the borders were never closed. Donald Trump didn't close the borders. He didn't. Hundreds of thousands of people, if not more, went through the borders when he was president. He didn't close. That's what the Republican Party is. It's a slightly less dumb version of the Democrats. Like, Democrats will leave it completely open. Republicans will leave it a quarter open. You know, Democrats will push the vaccine on you. Republicans will just fund them and act like they didn't see it coming. Like, that's what the Republican Party is. They're like a slightly less stupid version of the Democratic Party. They're not a pro-America, like, we're going to really save you. Trump took money from banks, pharma. Like, he was sucking up money just like politicians. And then he just sold you on this idea he was draining the swamp. When he was filling the swamp, he put a pharmacy lobbyist at the head of the HHS, which oversees the NIH, the CDC, the FDA. You know, oh, Trump got fooled. Fauci fooled him. No, dummies. Trump took the money from Big Pharma and then empowered them years ago. Trump set himself up and set our country up for this 4 years ago. He doesn't care about you. He tells you every time he's on television. But so we'll get the leader we deserve when our country gets right. We gotta get right, and then our leader will come. But you know, I relate. Not to be mean, but this pandemic is like the perfect pandemic for America, because America, over the last 20 or 30 years, I'm not trying to be rude, it's just true, has gotten fatter, lazier, more brainwashed. It's like every commercial is like, yeah, are you fat? Yeah, take this miracle pill. That'll sure save you. And it's like, there is no miracle pill to save you from being fat. I don't care if you're fat, and I don't care if you're skinny, but if I have a stomach, sometimes I'm fat. I'm not as fat as other people, clearly, but in general, sometimes I'm fatter than I want to be. And I don't look at the commercial and say, oh, yeah, I mean, I need to get a vaccine and a pill, and I'm just going to sit here and watch Monday Night Football with Troy Aikman, and I'm going to get skinny. Like, no, that's not how it works. I got to diet, exercise, go on jogs, play sports. That's how I'm going to get skinny, is working harder. That's the truth. So our country, clearly somebody's buying these products because there's millions of them being sold on television. So this pandemic is perfect for a fat, lazy America. It's like, oh, yeah, there's a virus. You should be afraid and sit on your fat ass and eat a bunch of food and just consume high fructose corn syrup soda, and we're going to make your kids fatter. Childhood obesity is rising. And, yeah, the only way to fight this virus is to go and get a vaccine. That's the only way. Doesn't matter how fat you are. Doesn't matter how little you take care of yourself. Doesn't matter how much you exercise. We're not going to talk about the sun or vitamins at all. Just sit there and just keep getting pharmacy products. And literally, like, half the country believes it. And it's not just liberals. I'm sorry. There's millions of Republicans that are just scared out of their mind, too. They're like, well, I'm not as healthy as I could be, so I need to do this. It's like, well, then get healthy. If you want to get healthy, get healthy. But you can't just fuck up the whole world, excuse my language, because you don't want to take care of yourself. And that's what people are doing. You could blame Trump, and you could blame Biden. I don't blame either of them. I blame our country. We're pathetic. It's like, oh, yeah, Trump's going to save me. Biden's going to save me. No, you just think that because you're not using your brain. Like, you're thinking that Donald Trump is rounding up the pedophiles because you're, like, hallucinating what you want to happen, because you're too brainwashed to figure out that that's not who he is. And then the left wing thinks Joe Biden's, like, fighting COVID. It's like, you think Joe Biden's fighting COVID? He couldn't even fight a toothpick. Like, what? On what planet is Joe Biden fighting Trump and COVID? Like, this is what our country thinks, though, because we've been just, like, lazy. It's our fault. I'm not trying to be mean, but it's like, it's our fault. You have literally, like, 150 million people who think it's a good idea to just sit there and hide. Like, oh, you know, I don't want to do too much this Christmas because, like, you know, like, exercise and human interaction and family, that's really unhealthy. You know what's really healthy? Big pharma shots and just, like, pills and opioids and like Rachel Maddow and like Sean Hannity, or I don't know. It's like that's not healthy. I know people that are Democrat and Republican that are like, yeah, let's not see our family more, and just like allow our kids to be forced masked, and like just bow down to this, like let our let inflation rise. That's really this is not healthy. They're gonna eventually like kill you. It's like if you run out. Do you know what happens in other countries that they don't have an economy and they don't have freedom? People die, okay? People die of poverty, people die of starvation, whether it be the Bolshevik Revolution where millions of people were murdered, or the Mao Zedong's Communist Revolution where millions of people were murdered, or a less nefarious reason where if your economy's not booming like America and it's just not possible to, take care of as many people as America has for so long. This isn't healthy. This isn't safe. This isn't the play. So there is no politician that's going to save you as long as people in this country are this lazy. Like, it offends me, and like some of the most people that I'm not literally offended, but I would say in general, like I'll read the super chats in a second, but like people who actually take care of themselves are like looking at everyone else like, what are you doing? Like we don't care if you don't take care of yourself, but this is like the revolution of people that don't take care of ourselves, thinking it's morally superior to either shut everyone else down or play along with the shutdown. Like, oh, I don't take care of myself, so I guess I'm just going to ruin the world for everyone else, or I'm going to enforce it, or I'm going to fall for it. It's like, there's nothing nice about that. There's nothing healthy about that. Like, you just think that because you don't. It's the same reason that people buy these pills on television, because somebody lied to you and told you that there's some easy way out. Oh, there's an easy way to lose weight. Maybe, but I don't know if it's the pill on television. I'm sure there's an easier way than others, but
that's what we do. We have to go to
at a certain point, people got to face it. There is no leader that's going to save you. There is no Republican that's going to save us. There's certainly no Democrat that's going to save us. And just like slobbering over Trump and selling Let's Go Brandon sweaters is not going to do anything. I mean, it's smart for business, definitely, save money if hyperinflation comes, but as far as like a solution to like saving America, that's not it. Frank with the super chat, he said, how can you call Trump an idiot when he was a billionaire and beat Hillary and became the 45th president? Impossible to be an idiot. Sometimes you could disagree with someone, but Trump is still a genius. I mean, you could say the same for Nancy Pelosi. I mean, yeah, Nancy Pelosi is a genius. She's been in politics for so long and risen the ranks. I'm sure her IQ is out there out of morality and intelligence, and not something more nefarious. So I would say he's a smart guy at certain things. If this were a game, like a video game, in certain areas Trump would be a 10, a 10, a 10, and in certain areas he would be a 0, a 0, a 0. He's a totally unbalanced buffoon. He's really good at business. He's apparently not good at other things. He's really good at defending himself. He's clearly not good at like caring about the country or his or nurses or doctors or Austria or Australia or our country rather. So yeah, he's like maxed out genius at some things, and he's like borderline like a dummy at other things. He's like tens and zeros in his like avatar, attributes. But James said, "Hey, I've been trying to ask you about the possibility of doing a million-man march type deal. Would I be interested in that? What would work in your mind?" I'm not interested in doing any sort of march because, once again, Donald Trump set everybody up with the feds on January 6th, and I want nothing to do with any of these marches that involves a million people. So the time for marching has been blown because the controlled op or the acting like controlled op, maybe he's just a moron, or maybe he's just really genius. He's so genius that he tells his supporters who believe that Mike Pence is going to get hung or something, because Lin Wood is saying that and other people are suggesting that may be a possibility. He sends them to the Capitol, and then they end up getting like arrested by the feds, and now nobody can protest or do anything anymore because we're all being treated like terrorists because Donald Trump set us up. Oh man, that was so smart. He's such a genius. Yeah, he's genius at like working for bankers and taking out loans and sucking off big pharma. But when it comes to like actually caring about his country and citizens, he doesn't seem to be that smart, or unless he purposely did it. So do I want to do a million-man march? No, of course not. The days of marching are over because Donald Trump set us up so the new regime can come in and attack us and hurt us and blame us and now have justification to call us, spy on us, show up at our houses, throw us in court, throw us in prison. Like, that's what he did to us. Do I want to be a part of a march? No. I don't want to go in the street and role play activist and then go home. It's not going to do anything. People need to just wisen up and smarten up and, you know, just get better. I want no part in any march. Those times are done. The great vaccine salesman ruined that on his way out. Someone says truckers walk in January. I support them. I support any peaceful legal protest, but do I want to organize a march? No. I hope the truckers have great success. The real protest is just not listening. You know, that's the real protest. The truckers can march, that's great, but if they don't show up to work, that's the protest. It's not the fact that they're standing there. I'm not knocking it, but the real protest is them just not going to work, you know? If they do a strike or something, that speaks volumes. But someone said his pardons were shocking. His pardons were shocking if you think he's a superhero Aquaman because you read a message board, but his pardons aren't shocking if you follow his steps every bit of the way. You know, even Alex Jones has been calling him out every day. He used Alex Jones to win the election, and then he doesn't care about Alex. He doesn't care about Julian Assange. He doesn't care about the political prisoners that got set up because they believe in him. Imagine, you know, I almost feel bad for these people. Not really, but I actually kind of do. Imagine you follow QAnon and you go to the White House because you think that Trump is literally going to arrest pedophiles on January 6th and Mike Pence is going to hang or something. And you're in the White House and you're role-playing like hero or something. And then you get sent to prison. And then not only does Donald Trump not give a shit about you, he goes on television and says, oh, I condemn them, yeah, whatever. And then you have QAnon and and I'm not saying the actual poster, but a lot of these people that follow the movement, they're calling this guy a Fed and an agent, you know? Was he? I don't know. I'm sure there were some there, obviously, but he probably wasn't. He probably is just an idiot. So it's like, you go to the White House thinking you're fighting the pedophiles for Donald Trump and QAnon, and your own movement of people that are so loyal, you know, they call you a Fed, and Donald Trump just lets you rot in jail. This guy's probably thinking, I am such an idiot for following this shit. I really, so okay, well, are his pardons like shocking?
It's over for us.
I guess, but if you think he's like somebody that cares about you, then yeah, it's shocking. If you realize that he's like the most selfish leader, and the reason I say this is like, listen, I'm this, I'm that, whatever. At the end of the day, I'm an American citizen. I love this country. I love my family. I love, you know, humanity. I'm not a pushover. I'm a man, okay? To watch Donald Trump the last year say nothing about what's going on in the world, downplay the protests as something that wouldn't be happening if he were the president, talk about the vaccine as if he saved the world from 100 million Spanish flu, back up Big Pharma, serve as a PR team for them, for Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, Moderna, say nothing about anything else, and just act like the protests don't exist and they only exist because of Joe Biden. He's a pathetic, disgusting pig. I have zero respect for the guy anymore. He is a complete scumbag. So you could call him a genius, you could slobber over him, but as a human being, he's a scumbag. I don't care how popular he is. I don't care how rich he is. I don't care how famous he is. I don't care if he wins in the White House again. I don't care if he raises $1 billion and wastes all your money again. I don't care what he does. I don't respect him because humanity needs help. America needs help. His supporters need help. Millions of healthcare workers need help, and this piece of shit could care less. He is such a selfish dickhead, and everybody allows him to do it because they just sit there and suck up to him and say, oh my God, it's so great. It's not great. His leadership is pathetic. He is a pathetic clown. If you lined up, this is how pathetic I think he is, and if you're rationally thinking, you probably will agree. If you lined up the top 300 most popular conservatives, line them up, okay? Donald Trump, put everybody, your favorite Instagram account, Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, line them all up, okay? The top 300 conservatives. I would say on a popularity scale, Donald Trump is number one, right? Let's not kid ourselves. He is the most popular conservative in the world. He is possibly the most popular conservative in modern history. So on a scale of 300 conservatives that are popular, Donald Trump is the most popular.
Why are they all over here? What the hell?
Who's doing the most to fight medical tyranny, and who's doing the most to speak out for people, and who's doing the most to flip the narrative, Donald Trump would rank number 300. He is the most useless. He is the most fraudulent. He is the biggest liar. He is the biggest Big Pharma shill. He doesn't care about the protests. He rarely talks about the mandates unless it's after a 3-minute pharma sales pitch. He is such a scumbag. So he's the most popular, doing the least in the movement. We have a movement of millions of people, and he's doing the least, yet he's the pinnacle. He is so obviously a dupe. He is the distraction because his leadership is pathetic. And I've lost a lot of respect, not just for him, but any account that just shuts their mouth and won't say it because it's like, the only way to get power and fame and money. It's like, do you have no respect for your country? These people call themselves patriots. They're just role-playing patriot, okay? Let me pretend to be patriot on social media so everybody likes me, but they don't give a crap. Just like 2 years ago and 3 years ago when I talked to all of them, hey, our First Amendment's being infringed upon by not just the left wing, but the right wing. They didn't care, and I'm telling you, they didn't not care because it wasn't happening. They knew it was happening. They knew it was going on. They just didn't want to talk about it. They cared more about their image. They cared more about, taking jets and hanging out with the big wigs. That's what they kept talking about. And I'm like, I don't care about that. Like, I could tell you, I was on the guest list for this band. I went to this athlete's main event. Yeah, I have friends that are bigwigs too, but that's not important. It's not like a pissing contest when I'm talking about the First Amendment. We could talk about the cool crap we've done, but when I'm talking about our free speech being infringed upon, and your answer to me is like, oh, well, I'm on jets with famous people. It's like, you don't care. You don't care about the Constitution. You don't care about being a patriot. You don't care about our freedom. You care about, like, being popular. And that's what a lot of these people do. It's disgusting to me. So Trump is the same way. At least, to their credit, all these other people that I'm influencer friends that I have, they've done way more to fight the narrative than Donald Trump. I can't think of a single conservative that I know and follow that has done less than Donald Trump. He is literally out of, like, not the idiot like rhinos, but out of, like, the real ones. He is the worst. He is the most wicked. He is the biggest deceiver. He is the most selfish jackass who every time he gets on television, he's on a world tour for Big Pharma. He doesn't talk about the protests. The only time he's talking about the protests is he said they didn't exist. He said this like 3 times. They didn't exist when I was president because Biden's president, now they exist. No, dumbass. They exist because they're using your product to oppress the whole world and force it on everybody and use it as an excuse to usher in Chinese authoritarianism. Donald Trump is an idiot. Oh, he's a genius. Oh, for Satan.
For Satan.
Someone said, Paul said 2020's under Trump's watch was one of the biggest blunders in the nation's history. I agree, Paul. And here's the thing. Once you study the 2020 blunder, he said on Trump's watch, 2020 was the biggest blunder. It was not only the biggest blunder in the nation's history, Trump didn't just mistakenly watch it and make a mistake. He made it happen. He made it happen with his HHS pick. He made it happen with his 2019 executive order. He took money from Pfizer. He took money from banks. He wasn't who people thought he was. He didn't just sit and watch the biggest blunder. He was part of the blunder. The blunder wouldn't have even been possible without him signing the executive orders and working with the lobbyists. He not only oversaw the biggest blunder, he caused the biggest
they're destroying their bottom too. What the fuck?
Blunder, and now people think he's going to save them from the blunder he was overseeing when he's clearly telling everybody everywhere he goes he hasn't learned a damn thing. This is the definition of insanity. Learning nothing, doing the same thing and expecting different results. I mean, it could not be more obvious. Frank said, so you gave up on Trump? Anyone with an IQ over 80 knows the election was stolen, which was treasonous. Why don't you talk about that? I talk about this, Frank. You can say what you want. Bro, he is the reason that mass mail-in ballots existed. So I don't know, like, I'm not going to freaking lose all my accounts over an idiot who is the reason that the mass mail-in ballots existed. You just get to, the election was stolen, I sell vaccines, I sell vaccines in the election. He's like a pull string doll. He's like an idiot Woody doll. You just pull it and he says 4 things. Let's have a complex issue. Let's talk about the election from a complex reason, because I semi-agree. Jonathan said nobody's dropping truth bombs like you. Let's talk about the election, Frank. Okay, so in 2016, Julian Assange helped Donald Trump win the election. After Donald Trump got elected, he pretended like he didn't know who WikiLeaks was. So he won the election off the back of Julian Assange. If you want to talk about a rigged election, Donald Trump rigged it about him against himself by turning his back on perhaps the #1 person who helped him win in 2016. He doesn't give a shit about Julian Assange, just like he doesn't give a shit about you. So there's one way Trump rigged it
and
against
they got
himself.
drained.
Here's the second one.
I never had to leave top, bro.
2016 and said, hey, Alex, you're doing a great job. Thank you. Everybody respects you. Why did he do that? Because Alex Jones had one of the biggest audiences on YouTube. So Alex Jones got axed in 2017 or 2018, and Donald Trump, once again, didn't give a shit about him, okay? Steve Bannon helped Donald Trump win the election. Oh, you're sloppy, you're a disgusting pig, get out of my, you cried like a baby. Okay, well, now you don't have that in Cambridge Analytica. I'm sure that helps you win the election. So Julian Assange, Steve Bannon, Cambridge Analytica, WikiLeaks, he's not winning the election without those 4 things. Okay, so then people start getting censored. Now all of a sudden he starts to give a shit because he gets censored. Okay, well then 2020 happens and he helps shut the country down. He funnels money to Big Pharma. He ushers in socialism. He ushers in the communist Chinese style system.
This is a really good team.
On his watch. And then people started to realize that this was bullshit and this was going to hurt the country. And one of the first states that tried to reopen was Governor Kemp of Georgia. Do I love Governor Kemp? No, but he wanted to open the state up, and Donald Trump told him not to. So if you want to talk about mass mail-in ballots and what happened to the election, you have no Julian Assange, no Alex Jones, no Steve Bannon, no Cambridge Analytica on your side. Okay.
Jesus Christ, we destroyed them. What was that? What was that?
Other Republicans wanted to. Now you have mass mail-in ballots. Because of
I was recording.
The mass mail-in ballots that Donald Trump helped usher in.
That was crazy.
Everybody's sitting at home because he helped push the narrative of vaccines, lockdowns, testing, all of this stuff.
Wow, they were going crazy in the bot lane, bro. But we were going crazy at the top,
and now
bro.
There's tens of millions of
oh
ballots
my God,
everywhere.
we
There's
shut them out. We just shut them
voting
out.
That wouldn't normally vote. You have big tech, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, YouTube, Google, everything pushing this agenda, wiping out his supporters for years that he didn't care about, telling everybody to vote, sitting them in their house, closing down the world, and then you lose an election. Are you going to play victim? Conservatives, Black America needs to stop playing the victim. And why don't you guys stop playing the victim? All you guys do is cry like babies. The election was stolen. You stole it from yourself. He stole it from himself. He did nothing to help himself. You guys are the biggest victims on the planet. Stop telling Black America not to play the victim. If you guys are just going to cry all the time and say the election was stolen and not dissect the 50 ways that Trump screwed himself and screwed our country. It's not like someone just locked the country down and Donald Trump was like, no, open up right away. We can't do this. No, he was in on the whole thing. From the 2019 flu executive order, from the initial lockdown to the partnership with Moderna, you think Donald Trump did himself any favors? He's just a buffoon who's a narcissistic, egotistical idiot, and he gets people like you to run circles around him. What part of that did he help himself at all? This is the way of the world. This is the golden rule, folks. You treat others the way you want to be treated.
Yeah.
And if you have no loyalty to people that are loyal to you, it eventually comes back to you. If you don't have loyalty to the guy who helped you win the 2016 election, God's not going to let you win the 2020 election. If you have no loyalty to your biggest supporters who get kicked off of social media, you're going to eventually get kicked off of social media. Republicans didn't give 2 shits about anybody from Milo Yiannopoulos to Alex Jones to the hundreds of people who got kicked off social media. They didn't say 2 freaking words. You know why? Because the GOP doesn't give a shit. They're just trying to protect their castle. Well, oh yeah, they're the fringe people. They're not going to come for us. And then they started coming for them. You know the first time the GOP started talking
they were the fringe. Now who's fringe? You're the fringe because you just took them away.
The House GOP got censored. Jim Jordan got censored. Yeah, we've been getting censored for years, and you guys didn't do anything. You had power, and now you want me to think that if you guys get back into office, oh, we're going to fight censorship if we got... You were in office from 2016 to 2020. Censorship got worse than it's ever gotten in modern history, with Donald Trump as president, and the Republicans had a slight majority in the Senate. So how are they going to... Only people like we're like, the election was stolen and they're going to save us from what they caused themselves, and you have no accountability? If Republicans are going to play the victim this much, stop telling Black America to not play the victim. I agree with that messaging, but it's like, you shouldn't play the victim, but we're going to sit here and cry like a baby. And to be completely fair, I believe the election was screwed from 2 different ways. I think it was screwed from the fact that everybody was stuck at home, everybody got mass mail-in ballots, everybody got told to register. They had to have picked up 20+ million votes just off that alone, that scheme to get everybody stuck at home. Everybody has a mass mail-in ballot. And, obviously, if you do research on mass mail-in ballots, it's not the best way. Mail-in voting is not ideal. So how are we going to reverse that? How do we get to the root of how it came here?
I'm literally hitting A.
That's the way to reverse it. It's not just sit and throw a fit and say it got stolen. let's see what happens in these lawsuits. I'm interested to see, because as somebody that from November to January
I don't have anything.
was like, yeah, I believe that Sidney Powell has something. I believe that Lin Wood will have something. I believe in these lawyers. To be honest, from what I thought happened to what they showed, they didn't really have a good thing. Like, in court, you want to have, like, footage like Kyle Rittenhouse. Like, we literally have footage of this exact thing happening where we can't lose this court. That's how you win a court case. Not with a bunch of lawyers just saying things that they think that they can't even back up themselves. So I'm not saying that something didn't happen, but the proof that you guys are talking about versus the proof that is actually presented in court, it wasn't what we wanted it to be. It wasn't what I wanted it to be. And I'm not saying anything didn't happen, but you're just going to sit there and ignore everything that happened in 2020 and think that I need to talk about the election for Donald Trump so he could get in, take money from Pfizer again, and be the exact leader he was in 2020 to help himself and our country lose? No, that's the distraction. Election fraud isn't, oh, that's the solution. We're going to talk about this for anybody who's not talking about it's the distraction. No, you are the distraction. You're running circles around the two-party system. You're running circles around the same guy that did all this stuff in 2020. You're the distraction. Trump's the distraction. And you guys believe anybody that talks about election fraud, and you don't even, like, fact check who they are. Like, literally, if I was this account and I said, hey, election fraud's real, follow me, I'm going to do, I could say anything, and you guys would believe me. I'd be like, there were 5 million votes in this state, we won California.
Fuck.
Oh, I'm sorry, we didn't win California. I love California. One day Republicans can maybe win again. There's idiots saying, oh, Trump won 50 out of 50 states. He won every state. He won No, he didn't win California. I think that certain states were obviously sketchy, water breaks, late night ballots, like all of that I agree with you. But like these morons are running around muddying the waters, like calling everything's racist, everything's election fraud. It's like you want to be analytical and exact when you talk about it. You don't just want to say and you guys are like running circles around these idiot lawyers that are like, all 50 states went to Trump. He won by 50 million votes. It's like, yeah, that's how you don't do anything about the election. Sorry, that's how you do nothing. That's how they waste 4 years of your time. Both parties are getting lobbied by Big Pharma. Both parties are taking money by Pfizer. Both parties lock the country down. Both parties, I mean, Republicans are definitely better at this point, but if you're going to spend 4 years of your life running around the guy...
Yeah, maybe we should have stayed up top.
Who, when he was in office, couldn't even do anything about it, that is the distraction. Someone said a Trojan horse. Damn. It's beyond a Trojan horse.
Damn.
It's just like
how did we lose both?
Do something about it.
What?
How
did we lose both?
The election, and the ones that I know that are doing something are
where
like,
did my team go?
You guys are following aren't doing anything. It's like, I'm from Arizona. I'm going to do this. And people are like, oh, yeah, they're going to really do it. Like, are you even paying attention to what they're doing, where their money's going, how much they're raising, where it's like, no, you guys, how much did Trump raise? $250 million for election fraud? From November, I believe, to January, he raised upwards of that, according to Cernovich. Where did that money go? You guys don't care. Do you care?
You should.
You guys paid so many people so much money between Lin Wood and Sidney Powell and Trump. Did anybody? Do you guys even know where the money went? They're fighting with each other now. The lawyers, people. So. Someone said we need more lawyers fighting against this nonsense. But here's the thing, though. One, you definitely should try to pass laws, I think. Pass laws that say you can't vote for 5 days, you need an ID, mass mail-in ballots need to go away. I agree with all of that. But you get what I'm saying, though? It's like you usher this in, and then you play the victim about it. If you didn't want this to go, he should have put a hard lock on the lockdown and said no right away. He extended it past Easter. And the people who are like, oh, you're playing armchair quarterback, I knew after a couple days that this was bullshit. I was tweeting at Trump begging, bro, don't do this. Don't do this. You're selling communism. You're lying to the American people all April. You're lying about Sweden. You're lying about freedom. And Donald Trump sided with Fauci, sided with Bill Gates, and kept locking the country down. And you guys don't want to admit it. So if he really wanted to beat this scheme, he could have done so. He didn't do it. It's all this big circus. You guys waste 4 years of your time, get kicked off social media, and have nothing to show for it. If you want there to be election change, try to figure out how to do it in your state. If you're going to support a lawyer who actually knows their shit, not a lawyer that will raise millions of dollars and you don't even know where it goes, and then they don't have anything to show for it. and especially people that aren't accurate, that keep bringing up the same information 50 times and having symposiums, like, it's all for show. If you have proof that the election was stolen, you don't need a 3-day bonanza for it. That's called, I want eyes on me for 3 days. If Kyle Rittenhouse court case, yeah, it took a couple of days, but it's like, he had video footage. Like, here's the footage that makes me guilty here or innocent. It's not like, hey, let me rent out a hotel or something for 3 days for 15 hours and everybody's gonna watch me. It's like, it doesn't take that long. I apologize for being upset, but I don't really know what Frank's deal is, but when I talked about this stuff, and it's starting to get annoying to me, and it's my own fault for losing my cool, but when I tried to talk about this stuff in April, people told me to shut up. Don't talk about the lockdown, wait till after the election. So I wasn't allowed to save the election. You guys didn't want to talk about this last March and April when I was trying to save the election. You said just shut up and let Trump do whatever he wants. He did whatever he wanted. He fucked up, okay? So he fucked up for a couple months, and then he tried to turn it around, but it was already too late. And he's telling Governor Kemp to stay closed and close down spots. Trump didn't try to open really quickly. He head faked, said open, closed again, and then told people to stay closed. Okay, so then it's no... Well, wait till the election anomaly. We don't want to talk about medical tyranny. We don't want to talk about vaccines. We don't want to talk about all this stuff. Wait till November. So I said, all right, fine. Okay, you guys don't want to save the country. You guys don't want to pay attention. All right, I guess I'll just shut up and wait till November. Then November happened, and everyone said, you know what? Anomaly, the election's not over. Let's wait till January 6th. And I said, you know what? I'm annoyed. I even talked about it then. I'm like, this is not good. Now you guys are... Every month you wait, from March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, whoever's president, the longer you wait, the harder it is to reverse all this stuff. The mask mandate, the vaccine mandate. So we're waiting 7 months. Nobody wants to talk about what's going on in Donald Trump's America with Donald Trump as president. It all happened in 2020. No one wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to give me a platform. Nobody wants to share my info because we just got to wait till the election. So you already blew 7 months of, you could have been protesting, you could have been pushing back, you could have been telling both parties that it's messed up, but instead, you believed the great Moderna, Grandpa Moderna. And then November to January, once again, if you look at my tweets, I told people, bro, when are you going to talk about medical tyranny? Because the big issue is, yes, the Democrats are worse, but the Republicans are in on it too. So it doesn't really matter at this point. You're wasting time.
Why can't I hit?
You wait to talk about this.
Where? What? He's just not attacking.
So then January 6th happened, and I told people, even people that were organizing it publicly, I'm like, you guys should be organizing mandate protests or freedom protests. You shouldn't be putting all your energy into Donald Trump. I was like, you're wasting your time, and everyone got mad at me. All the organizers who went on January 6th, they're all laying low. They all have issues, not everyone, but almost everyone, they all have issues with the FBI and they're in court. Why? Because they followed the snake oil salesman to the Capitol event, which was always a scam. And I told people this months ago. But I'm like, if you want to go, whatever. I didn't know it was going to be this bad. I thought it was going to be peaceful and legal. But it's like, you're running circles around the guy selling vaccines. So then after January, I'm like, at least now we could finally talk about the medical tyranny. We could finally talk about how both parties are doing this. We could finally talk about how it started under Trump and now it's getting worse under Biden. And what do people like Frank say? Oh, let's talk about the election. For 4 years, bro? Are you going to run in circles for 3.5 years around the guy who was there in 2020? I'm all for making elections more fair, but you are getting duped. You have wasted now over a year running circles around the big, disgusting vaccine salesman who was the leader of our country in 2020, who had no answer for the BLM riots. He had no answer for the lockdowns. He had no answer for any of the corporate stuff that's going on. He would have stopped some government mandates, but he would have been completely useless on state and corporation mandates. So when are we going to talk about the big issue in the room? The big issue in the room is both parties sold us out in 2020, and the entire Republican Party is running circles around Donald Trump. I'm starting to think, someone said the joke is on us, I'm starting to think that's what this is. Donald Trump and Q is like the carrot. Every Oh no, just wait, Patriots. There's martial law coming. What? Someone said, watch X-22 report. Oh yeah, so he can dangle a carrot in front of your face in 4 years and profit off your own demise as you sit there and do absolutely nothing and think martial law is good and Trump's going to come back and save you. Why would he save you when he was there in 2020? You don't think he could have done it in 2020 when he ran the White House? You think... So the big distraction is people that... The Donald Trump election was not a one-day election. People didn't want to talk about anything in March until November, and November till now, this election has brainwashed the Republican Party. It's like they don't want to double task and talk about anything. There are people that I know that are actually working to get better election laws, but as far as the general, let's play the victim about the election for 4 years and never address the elephant in the room, the guy that you're running circles around is literally on television downplaying the protests. They wouldn't be here if I were there because everybody wants to get the vaccine. He's a buffoon, and you're a buffoon if you think you need to spend 4 years running around that buffoon. That is the trap. That is the carrot on the string. People, this seems like by design to me, because if the election was one day, whether Trump won or Biden won, then we can move on to something else. But it's like a dangling carrot that never goes away. It's a movie plot that never goes away. People have to get to the core of it.
Holding
You
up.
got Rand Paul on television selling a new vaccine, Donald Trump on television every day selling the old vaccine, Republican Party getting paid off by Big Pharma just like Democrats, Republican Party... Okay, so I'm sorry, but it's not my number one issue. And if you want to look at Virginia and these other states, there's Republicans winning all across the country. Is it fair? I don't think so. Do I think that the votes are rigged? Sure. But it's not like no Republicans can win. Other Republicans are winning. Other hundreds of Republicans won on that day. So we need to make it fair, but we also have to stop playing the victim. Do everything you can to make the election fair. Do everything you can to make the laws more fair. And then drive some votes. Because to be honest, you know, at a certain point, we got to win if the game is rigged. We got to get, you know, we got to figure out what's going on and then make it happen anyway. Leanne said, stop. Trump may not be the best, but he did more for our country than anyone else in the last 25 years. He did more damage in 2020 than any president in my entire lifetime. I can't think of a more devastating, more communist, more authoritarian year than 2020. And Trump has like nothing to say about it. He doesn't give a shit about the surveillance state that we're under. He doesn't give a shit about the protests. He rarely talks about the mandates. What world are you living in? He brought communist authoritarianism to America, and he barely wants to talk about it because he's probably in on it at this point. If you don't have a soul to talk about what is going on, like RFK or even Ron DeSantis is a politician, but I'm sensing a soul in that guy's body because he actually talks about stuff. I'm not saying he's not going to betray you at some point, but it seems like he has some sort of a soul. Donald Trump seems like a soulless vampire who just gets up there and talks about himself. He doesn't care about anything. He ushered in Chinese-style authoritarianism and medical digital surveillance, and he doesn't give two shits about you. But you think you're watching like a freaking movie where he's your hero. Yeah, he did so much for America. He did good with energy. He did good with energy. He did good with gas. That's about it. What did he do that was so amazing? He ushered in communism and served as a Trojan horse, and then told everybody it was all about him and ran people in circles for 2 years. Someone said, are you a demon rat? Are you talking about a Democrat? Do you guys not pay attention at all? Seriously?
Yeah, you guys not paying attention.
If you look up communism or socialism, look up the definition of communism and socialism, and look up the definition of free market democracy and free market enterprise. Nothing about 2020 was free market. Before Joe Biden got in the White House, Joe Biden is terrible. I would never vote for him. Donald Trump ushered in the CARES Act. He locked down the country. He did Operation Warp Speed. He printed trillions of dollars. He put everybody on universal basic income welfare. He ushered in a digital surveillance state. Have you read any of the shit that he passed, his executive order in 2019? Of course not. Have you read the CARES Act? Of course not. Have you read all this stuff that he signed off on in 2020? Why do you think you're being oppressed right now? You think it's just Joe Biden? No, Joe Biden got the baton passed to him in the same way George Bush passed the baton to Obama. You get what I'm saying? Bush passed the baton to Obama, Obama passed the baton to Trump, and Trump passed the baton to Biden. But all of this stuff that's happening, the mass testing, the digital surveillance, this was all signed in under Trump, and he brags about it. He doesn't care. It doesn't make you a Democrat. Who took money? Anomaly must be sold out. Look at my record. I never took money from Pfizer. Donald Trump took money from Pfizer. I never employed a pharmacy lobbyist. Donald Trump employed a pharmacy lobbyist. He's on television. Oh, Eli Lilly has a really good product out. Do they? Because you put an Eli Lilly pharmacist, Alex Azar, as the head of Human Health Services. Human Health Services
I'm a madman.
Human Health Services oversees the FDA.
Oh my goodness, that was crazy.
CDC, FDA.
Oh, wait, I have earthquake now. You don't want to mess
Donald
with
Trump
me,
put a pharmacy lobbyist at the head of that after he took $1 million from Pfizer for his inauguration and Bank of America and other corporations. Oh yeah, you really drained the swamp. What are you, a Democrat? Do you guys not get it? This would be like me saying, I'm not a fan of George Bush or Obama. What are you, a Democrat? I like George Bush. Why don't you like Obama? It's like, what planet are you living on? What world are you living in?
Where should we go?
Someone said, talking about the PCR test, you're never going to hear Trump talk about the PCR test or any Republican. Yeah, the testing, all this stuff. There's 1,000 ways to talk about it. There's 1,000 ways to unravel it. There's 1,000 ways to push back. And there's not very many people doing any of that. Someone said that's the strategy. Gain people's confidence, gain their love and admiration, then fail them completely. Pretty much. People are like, literally have like a godlike obsession with Trump. They're like, I don't care that he brought in digital surveillance and communism. Did we have a Democrat president in 2020? I'm trying to think. Damn. I wish we had a Republican president who was against, who didn't do the 15 days to slow the spread. And then he gets on television and says, I barely worked with Fauci. I did everything he didn't want to say. Trump didn't have to put Fauci on television every single day. Oh, Trump needed to do this and that.
I was going to go that way too.
He made Fauci more famous than Fauci ever was. Fauci didn't rise to power in 2018. I mean, he's been there for decades and he had the whole AIDS thing. But most people didn't know Fauci, and most people never would have known Fauci. Donald Trump chose to put him on television every single day when everybody was locked in their house for 4 weeks. Donald Trump made Fauci more powerful and more famous than he's been in a while. I wouldn't know about more powerful, but I mean, actually, yeah, under the emergency order he declared, I'm sure he did. It's like, what? You guys don't pay attention. And then people were like, oh man, when are you going to talk about the election? Someone said, dude, what did Trump do to you? Me personally, nothing.
No,
earthquake. He implemented communism and socialism, printed trillions of dollars, brought through inflation, put everybody on universal basic income, gave Big Pharma more money and power than they could have ever imagined, and sold out my family, my heritage, my country, my flag, and my people to Big Pharma. He sold out my future generations to Big Pharma. That's what Trump did. He sold the country out. He implemented socialism. So I don't like socialism. I don't like communism. I can't support a socialist or a communist, and Trump is both of those. He did all of this. Do people not live in reality? People who like Trump this much are so brainwashed, they act like this all came under Biden. You would think, if you moved to the woods and came back, you would think that the lockdown started in March 2021. You're like, dude, the economy was booming under Trump. I mean, Trump just killed it. And then Biden got in and locked the country down.
Dude, I'm on level 11. Yeah, I'm about to say, I bet that.
It happened in 2020, guys. It happened in 2020.
This is so bad. This is so bad.
The money printing, the CARES Act, the vaccine shilling, the selling out to Big Pharma, the testing, the tracing, the digital surveillance. This didn't appear in 2021. It's like Donald Trump built this evil regime and then just handed the keys to Joe Biden. It's like, don't build it. He didn't have to build it. He didn't have to do any of this stuff. He's not your guy. People really don't.
What?
Someone
How
said,
is that even possible?
Caused by Trump? Seriously? I already had a whole debate about this. There's multiple angles to inflation. So if you listen to, like, not the idiots at The Economist, but if you listen to smart economists, from the time that the Federal Reserve was created and they went away from gold-backed currency and all of this billions,
We're gonna win. We were so
trillions
close.
of dollars of debt, they're printing money, you know, they're doing more welfare programs, whatever. You know, there's been, inflation doesn't happen instantly. It doesn't happen overnight. This has been like a ticking time bomb in America for decades. So to be quite fair, I would say there's multiple angles to this. Did Trump create inflation? No, inflation's been around since the test of time. But America's been a ticking time bomb. The biggest moment to screw over the American people for inflation happened in March 2020. If you don't think, and there are people with the mark of the beast in their names, scrawny, degenerate people that like worship Satan. You can follow them on YouTube. They suck up to Trump and say he didn't help inflation. If you don't think what they did in 2020 had any impact on inflation, you are totally brainwashed. Is Biden helping? No. Biden's responsible for the gas prices. Biden's responsible for the pipeline. Biden is making inflation worse. There's no question about it. Biden's making inflation worse. But if you don't think that Trump helped cause inflation, you're brainwashed. You think if he would have won the election, there would have been no inflation? You don't think everything they did in 2020 was going to impact? You're out of your mind. They printed more money.
They flip zap and we still won. We're gods, bro. Fuck, that was close.
They printed more money in 1 year than in hundreds of years of America.
Yep.
Trillions of dollars.
Yeah, somebody gave me
everybody
the
money.
thumbs up.
You don't think that causes inflation? It doesn't happen over a year. If you study Germany, look at when they printed the money and look at when it happened. Talk to people who live in Venezuela. Scary. People in America are so stupid.
How did I get...
I talked to somebody in Venezuela.
I was low-key eating them berries, bro.
When inflation happened? 3 years later. It doesn't happen. It's not like you print the money and inflation happens.
I ate all of
time.
them berries. They out-leveled us, too. I was like, damn, they're out-leveling us. But we got to outplay them. They got zapped, but we still won. It was all defense, baby. It was all defense, baby. Look at the medals, baby.
Inflation would still hit. Would it be as bad? Probably not. I'm sure there were ways that he would have made it better, but it doesn't matter if your name is Donald Trump, Flonald Flump, Flo Biden, or Joe Obama. It doesn't matter what your name is. You can't just shut the world down and print tens of trillions of dollars.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
You would
That's what Donald Trump did in 2020. If you don't think he helped cause inflation, there's somebody on YouTube who has 666 in his name. He's a scrawny, degenerate Satan worshiper. Go follow him. All he does is suck off Trump and say, oh, no, inflation happens overnight.
Inflation happens overnight.
Joe Biden caused inflation. But if Trump prints the money, I like Trump, so I just pretend like it doesn't affect the economy. Like, there's satanic people on YouTube that will make you feel good. You're like, I love the Bible and I love Trump, but damn it, this Satan worshiper really feeds me the info I want on Trump. I'm sure. Someone said printing money causes inflation. Guys, look up how much money was printed in 2020 before Joe Biden got there. This is how they brainwash you. They screw up the country, hand off the baton. Screw up the country, hand off the baton. I'm a patriot. Here's the Patriot Act. Yeah, we're going to spy on you or whatever, but I'm going to fight Osama bin Laden or something, even though we're going to go kill Muammar Gaddafi or something. Oh, yeah, we're fighting Muslims or whatever. Oh, yeah, I'm a patriot. Oh, I'm George Bush. Oh, I love America. Oh, yeah, we're going to fight the Taliban. Here, give me all your freedom and money. And everyone's like, oh, I guess it's legit. Let's Patriot Act. And then they pass the baton to Obama. Oh, my God, people are so sick of these far right-wing, people. Oh, man, we finally have a black president in office who's really smart. And then 8 years of Obama. He doesn't do jack shit. And people start getting pissed off. Oh my God, let's make America great again and drain the swamp. Okay, for sure. And then he fills up the swamp with more swamp creatures. He puts pharmacy executives as the head of the whole health department and fucks over our country, prints trillions of dollars, becomes the biggest socialist in modern history by printing more money than has ever been printed in human history, passes the baton off to Biden, and now he brainwashes liberals into thinking that Joe Biden's going to save them, and conservatives into thinking that Donald Trump didn't help this inflation at all. Do you guys not get it? It's like this constant circus. They just pass the baton left and right. And behind all the parties are the bankers, certain foreign countries and foreign lobbyists, Big Pharma. They're controlling all your little puppets. These people are professional prostitutes. Donald Trump was the best one because he's taking money from banks, he's taking money from pharma, but he's telling you he's not doing it, and people believe him. And it's like, what a good one, you know? Same with Obama. Obama was like awesome for politics because he was so sneaky. It was like, yeah, he's very good at like pretending like he's actually doing something, but he's really just another puppet. So this is what they're going to keep doing. Someone said I party with Epstein. That's disgusting.
That's disgusting.
Someone said Gaddafi was a good guy. That's why they murdered him. I don't know if he was a good guy, but he was definitely trying to get on a gold-backed system away from the banks. And I'm pretty sure anybody who doesn't listen to the global communists, they're not a fan of. So I'm sure his murder had a lot more to do with him rejecting the global tyrants. And a lot less to do with him being a murderous dictator. Oh my God, Bashar al-Assad's murderous. It's like, didn't you just drone strike children by mistake? Maybe you shouldn't talk. Thermonomics said inflation was delayed because of the lack of oil consumption during lockdowns, not because Trump was a magic golden boy. I hear you, Thermonomics. I believe there's, you know, if you study inflation in a lot of countries, I've looked up a lot. I've done a lot of research on Germany and other countries, Venezuela. I've talked to people who live there. It very rarely happens like overnight. There's usually one event that like further spurs it. You know what I'm saying? Like it happens, and then someone fucks up really bad, and then it really happens. So like when they did that in 2020, that was the biggest fuck up ever. Like to shut the whole world down, to shut the country down, to shut the borders down, to shut production down, to shut like people driving down, and to just hunker down for 2 months. That was the craziest thing that's ever happened, and they screwed up the country beyond measure. And Trump was involved, and Pelosi was involved, and the Republicans were involved, and the Democrats were involved. I'm shocked it didn't happen quickly, but, you know, yeah, it doesn't always happen instantly. So now Biden's going to do something, and he's going to screw it up and dig us in a deeper hole. But this is decades of happening. But really, I would say the biggest singular event that really put us in the biggest hole would be 2020. And Biden's mismanaging energy, but yeah, I hear you. I've heard that with why inflation was delayed. Cameron said, respect to Anomaly for having patience with brainwashed sheep and providing education to them. Thank you. I don't know if I have patience. I try to, but I don't feel like I'm doing the best job. Someone said, bought a high quality USA made God is great hoodie. Let's go. Thank you, RW.
Did he die? Oh, what the?
I'm going to leave in a little bit, but in general, someone said, I don't know, people are arguing with themselves. Someone said, this is all speculation. You can't just say things as bad as mainstream media. Bro.
This is all speculation. He said this is all speculation. It's all speculation.
Look up how much money. There's never been in the history of the human earth, at least in modern history, maybe when there was hyperinflation, they're printing all this funny money, but in general, more money was, you can't, if you think, oh, you're just speculating. I mean, we could just print tens of trillions of dollars and there's going to be no inflation. You're an idiot, literally, like an imbecile, like really dumb. If you're that dumb, you deserve Donald Trump or you deserve Joe Biden. Like a nation this stupid deserves stupid leaders who can print tens of trillions of dollars, and their fans will say, but I like their latest album with Michael Jackson, so I'm just going to pretend like it's speculation to talk about inflation. Oh, it's speculation. Dude, get a freaking brain. Are you joking? You should work for The Economist. They were shocked that inflation happened. Who would have saw it coming? Bro, they printed more money than ever printed in American history by far in 2020 when they shut the economy down. If you think they could shut the economy down for 2 months and print trillions of dollars and it's not going to affect inflation, someone said 9 trillion. Yeah, some estimates are higher on other things, but I think 9 trillion is one of the numbers. Since that year it's gone on. Use your freaking brain. My God. No, well, and this is the funny part. People get so upset with me, but like here's a test of like if Obama did Operation Warp Speed I would have been against it. I would have been like, I don't agree with giving that much money and power to Big Pharma. It's not a smart idea. I would have had the same exact stance with Barack Obama. Here's how you know all these people are full of shit. If you could do a simulation, I wish we could do this, do a simulation and do Obama printing all this money, you would have every Republican account, including the ones that talk shit on me, threaten me, dox me, all this bullshit because I'm right and they're wrong. You would have all those accounts saying, dude, Obama's so corrupt. He funneled money and power to the vaccine industry. Everybody would have thought that. Everybody would have been on the same page as me. It's only because Donald Trump did it that all these Republicans that don't believe in it make excuses for it. I don't care that he didn't mandate it. You shouldn't give $18 billion to Big Pharma when the country's shut down unless you want Big Pharma to take over our country, because he gave away our country to Big Pharma. And same with printing money. If Obama printed $9 trillion, we'll say on one of the estimates, $9 trillion over time, now tens of trillions of dollars are printed. If Obama spent $9 trillion and Donald Trump was the next president and inflation started hitting, do you think Republicans would be like, oh yeah, that inflation just instantly happened? People would be like, no, Obama printed $9 trillion. Like, of course it's his fault as well. There's blame on both sides, but yeah, of course it's mostly his fault. Did Donald, with Obamacare, Trump said he was going to change it. He didn't change it because it's not that easy sometimes. You're dealing with a complex healthcare system that Obama fucked up. It's not like Trump, he repealed the individual mandate, which was good, but he didn't know what to do with it because there was too much problems with it. And he apologized. It was like, I'll do more if I get in office again, but I couldn't really figure it out. Inflation's the same thing. Nobody would think that it didn't roll over. Like, this is like crazy level stuff. Like, this country deserves leaders like Trump and Joe Biden. It's like, someone said this started back years ago. That's what I'm trying to tell people. From the time of the Federal Reserve, from the time that they got away from the gold-backed currency, to being massively in debt, to owing money to China, to putting a lot of people on welfare, to ruining certain supply chains in other ways.
Me and the
you could
Blastoise went on
probably,
a
if
little
you were
mission.
smart, go back for the last 100 years, and you could probably name 15 things that slowly push this down the river, in some sort of way. But 2020 has to be the biggest mistake ever. So Donald Trump has been the best president since Reagan, somebody said. You might be right, honestly. You might be right. But it's sad that the two best presidents in modern history sold us out to Big Pharma. Ronald Reagan signed the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act, and Donald Trump, did Operation Warp Speed, which was protected by the CARES Act, and they both screwed us over. So if you want more Reagans and Trumps, you deserve to live in a medical slave world. Like, honestly, if that's your idea of good, you deserve to live in America right now. You deserve a digital surveillance state that's taken over by Big Pharma, because it's hard to say, maybe Bush as well, but between Reagan, Bush, and Obama, they screwed the country over with Big Pharma. Ronald Reagan removed all liability. Did you know a lot of vaccine manufacturers were going to stop making vaccines because insurance wouldn't cover them because people were getting hurt and injured and they were suing? And Pharma said, we're not going to make more vaccines for you unless they lobbied the government, and they lobbied the government under Reagan, and they said, we'll make vaccines again if we have no liability. So now, under the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act that Reagan passed, vaccine manufacturers have no liability. No liability for injuries, side effects, or deaths. If your kid dies, they don't give a shit. You don't get a single cent from Big Pharma. You can't sue them. They are immune to immunity from liability. They have no liability under the Reagan. And then under George Bush, he passed the PrEP Act, which said under an emergency, same thing. So all of these vaccines that were developed under Trump's Operation Warp Speed, they were protected by the PrEP Act, which was building off of the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act. So because it was a national emergency, manufacturers who created all these vaccines have no liability for injuries, side effects, and deaths. Do you think they would have rushed this out as fast if they had liability for injuries, side effects, and deaths? Of course they wouldn't have. They never would have rushed it out this fast because they would have got their asses sued into poverty. But they're not going to pay a single dime. They're making record profits. You could point to George Bush, Republican, Ronald Reagan, Republican, and Donald Trump, Republican, as the three people who sold America out to Big Pharma and who led you to this digital surveillance state. So if that's your idea of a good president, I agree, they might be the best we've had, but it's not good enough unless you want to be a slave. So
how did we lose that, bro?
So to me, it's not good enough. But I guess that's what I have to deal with. It's like
get out of
we go to the camps or we go to the camps. I guess that's all we could do because everybody just wants to sit there and act like it's so great. It's like, all right. Thermonomics said Trump should have not allowed the lockdowns. Instead, he encouraged them. In my opinion, lockdowns warrant a state of emergency and that governors are going to go full psycho dictator and need to be stopped. All this stuff they had a blueprint, my brother. If you read the executive order for the flu vaccine, they had all this stuff set in play. All these things. If an emergency happens, you get this power, you get this money. So it rolled like fine wine. I wish Trump didn't do that too, but I think he was always kind of in on it. MH said there is no political solution. Democracy is a false failed god that leads to anarcho-tyranny of the merchant class. I hear you with democracy. Honestly, I think it's a good idea, but it's not working right now. Someone said the founding fathers would be stacking bodies. I mean, I don't know what George Washington would probably be like. Yo, these people are like, they would be shaking their heads so hard. People would be like, I like Joe Biden. They're like, dude, Joe Biden couldn't have even cleaned George Washington's shoes.
Honestly,
if George Washington were around,
they would have they'll look at earlier. They'd be like, "Why are you picking the oldest, most decrepit, senile man?"
What are you guys doing?
Oh, we don't get it.
Narcissistic couple. Thank you for the $10. I'm not trying to be mean, and I know people are going to disagree, but like. Someone said I have chest pains after the first Pfizer shot for 3 months. Other shit too, regrets. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. I hope you get better, brother. This has always been my take with the vaccines. I don't care who gets what, right? If you get it under your own choice, but this is coercion right now. Millions of people have to get it or they lose their job. And here's the thing with these vaccines. If they had liability, like you took it under your own free will, and if something happened to a large amount of people, these vaccine manufacturers would have to take accountability. I would be totally fine with it because there are hundreds, if not thousands, of medical products just like that. You take it if you want to. They're safe and effective. And if something happens, they give you the side effects and they tell you beforehand. And, a lot of times you'll be compensated. This is not how vaccines work. They're bred to be corrupt. So think about any other industry like this. It's just going to get worse and worse and worse over time. So, I'm totally opposed to all this stuff. And it's not because I'm anti-vax. I'm pro-science and pro-truth and pro-reading the legislation.
Go ahead.
And it's
you
want
to play
the
game? Go ahead.
They're
Do
making
whatever
a
you
fortune
want.
while they're covering up people talking about their injuries, while they're protecting themselves from people who got injured. Not everybody everybody who took it got injured. I'm not even saying that, but there are a lot of people who did. Thousands, if not tens of thousands, if not more. And this is all documented from the past and even now. People complaining about it, and what's their recourse? They don't have recourse because these manufacturers have no liability, but also the media won't really let you talk about it. Social media will crack down on you if you talk about it, and they want to sweep it under the rug completely. So the whole system is corrupt at the core. The only way to beat this is to understand what's going on and reverse it and get enough awareness. Maybe that's why, I would say I go so hard at Trump because I know he has hundreds of millions of people under a spell and they love him, and he's talking about nothing important ever. He's only bragging about himself. He's not talking about this stuff. And I'll tell you what, he knows this stuff. You guys don't understand. Like, people think, okay, on one hand, am I saying he's an idiot and a buffoon? Sure. But, is he literally dumb where he doesn't know this? I think he's just acting like a politician, to give Frank some credit, because Donald Trump, before he got in the White House, it said that he met with RFK and Del Bigtree.
God, dude.
He wanted to talk to
now
RFK,
you want to hear
Robert
what
F.
the
Kennedy.
fuck?
Trump wanted to talk to him about autism and what he believed to be injuries. That's what Donald Trump wanted to talk about. So Donald Trump has tweeted about this. Donald Trump has been skeptical of this. Donald Trump has, never been anti-vaccine, but he has been skeptical of vaccine injuries, and he was very curious about it before he got into office. That's why he met with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who is beyond knowledgeable about injuries. So Trump knows about them, but when you say he's a businessman, he is a businessman. What sucks is Donald Trump's business ended up being Big Pharma. His business ended up being, let me side with these manufacturers and these lobbyists and big government. Let me side with them over my own people. So it's not like he doesn't know about this stuff. When he gets on television,
You think he can't do more with this platform? Tucker Carlson recently had on Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Tucker Carlson has the biggest platform on television. You think he doesn't have a lot to lose with hosting RFK on Fox Nation? He did it anyway. You know why? Because Tucker Carlson has balls, and Tucker Carlson, despite his flaws, he's a patriot. I think he truly cares about this country. Trump does not. You think he doesn't know about the stuff that me and Tucker Carlson and RFK know? Of course Trump knows about it. He just cares about himself, Big Pharma, and lying to the American people and telling them that he saved the world from a Spanish flu epidemic, which he did not. He didn't save 100 million lives. Nobody thinks that. He's just lying. And he's not lying because he actually thinks that. Like, does he really think that? No, I think he's purposely just lying.
Oh, no.
Someone said, is he advocating for mandatory? You're not listening to me, though. I don't want to talk about all this stuff. It's like, if this happens and it leads to mandatory vaccinations, I don't care if the person who did step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, step 6, step 7, step 8, step 9, and then stepped aside and handed the baton to the guy who did step 10, I don't care that he's not mandating it because he's responsible for steps 1 through 9. So, yeah, he said he wasn't going to mandate it, but he's not president, so it doesn't matter what he said. And to be quite fair, he had no solution while he was president to any of this stuff. You think he was going to stop California? He couldn't stop California from any of the mandates they did earlier. How was he going to stop the blue states and the red states who wanted to do it? He didn't have a plan. His plan was to get out of the way and fundraise off of pretending to have a plan after he just, acts like he had a plan. He wasn't going to, the only thing Trump was going to stop was military mandates and government mandates. He would have no power to stop state mandates or corporate mandates, or at least he wouldn't even try. Just like did you see him running around really trying hard to stop them from doing forced masking and stuff? He didn't do anything in 2020. So this is like the dumb talking point. It's like, well, Rand Paul isn't mandatory vaccine. Well, Rand Paul isn't. I'm like, I don't care. It does. So if you funnel $18 billion to Big Pharma, give them money, give them power, protect them under the CARES Act, never talk about it, you're a piece of trash, That's what Donald Trump is. Oh, he said he was going to do it. He said a lot of things, so who cares? He said he was going to stop socialism, and he brought it to America. So should I care? You guys treat him like a little baby, like a little Jesus manger that you put under your tree. Like, let's just act like doesn't know anything. He's my favorite leader. He just lies all the time and doesn't know anything and just constantly brags about saving lives that never happened. Like, then what's the point then? Someone said Trump brought socialism to America. WTF, dude? Bro, when do you think medical tyranny, authoritarianism, mass censorship, lockdowns, Big Pharma take over America, when did that happen? When did it happen? Because you guys keep pretending like it just happened like a week ago. It happened in 2020. If you want to be honest, and I'm not proud of this because Joe Biden's a piece of trash, he's worse than Trump, but I had more freedom this year than I had under Trump. In 2020, I had way less freedom than I live now, and I live in California. In California in 2020, under Donald Trump's presidency, I was forced to wear a mask everywhere. I was hassled and harassed everywhere I went. I couldn't go into restaurants. It freaking sucked. I had less freedom in 2020. That's not a lie. That's the truth. I haven't had to wear a mask in 4 months. Nobody's bothered me in 4 months. I live in a conservative county, but you're acting like all of this stuff just appeared when Joe Biden got there. It happened in 2020. He ushered it in, and Joe Biden's making it worse. It's like a tag team. It's like Trump fucks it up, and then he tag teams Biden, and you guys are fighting Biden. It's like, and you want Trump back. Then they'll tag team back again. Come on, guys. If you don't think this started in 2020, when did medical tyranny, forced masking, when did all of this stuff start? In 2020. The vaccine wasn't even out to the public yet in 2020, so there was no forced vaccination. But I can guarantee you that if Trump was president, you would have mandates on a corporate level, you would have mandates on a state level, you would have Democrats pushing mandates, and you would have him just tweeting about it. He wasn't going to stop it. He would have stopped federal mandates, which is helpful. Someone said he gave states the right. You're not listening to me, though. You don't, like, this all came in 2020, and he was cheering it on. So what part of that don't you get? I don't understand what you're saying. Well, he gave states the right, though. Like, so this still happened. So what part of him do you think could stop this if he couldn't stop it in 2020? Like, I feel like I'm talking to, like, idiots. I'm not trying to be mean, but it's like, do you not live on Earth? Someone said, too bad the dislikes are no more. Looks like there are still Trumpers here. Your thoughts on the dislike button? I wish there was dislike. I don't care. This would still have a positive ratio. But the dislikes is annoying. They took it away for Biden, Big Pharma, Democrats, and unpopular politicians. They didn't take it away from me. It's annoying. When I look at a financial advisor, or I'm trying to look at a tutorial, the likes and the dislikes are very important. Or I'm trying to take a news article. Every time, if it has more likes than dislikes, it's almost always good. So, yeah, it's a joke that they took it away. I don't care if people dislike it. Yeah. Someone said Trump gave the states rights, laughing at it. Well, this is the funny part, and then I really got to go. This is the funny part about conservatives. They make excuses. So, okay, Trump's a libertarian after he locks down, right? Oh, he's just giving the states rights. So when Republicans need to actually fix the mess they created, all of a sudden they're hands off, right? I'm a libertarian. I believe in states' rights. I will never nationalize anything. Okay, right. I agree with you, Trump. But this couldn't have happened if Trump would have done that. He declared an emergency. He signed the CARES Act. He did stuff that breached all 50 states. So when push came to shove for important issues like the omnibus bills and the CARES Act and Operation Warp Speed and all this other stuff, and the initial lockdown and the emergency order, and the thing that put this on a national scale and gave all of the vaccine manufacturers, without a national emergency order, there is no crazy liability. That they got protected under the PrEP Act, okay? So Trump allowed all this happen. So when push came to shove, he's a socialist. He's a communist. But then he does all this damage being a socialist and a communist for a month and a half, and then now they're oppressing us. Gavin Newsom's oppressing us. Phil Murphy's oppressing us. Cuomo's oppressing us.
I can't get any kills.
Gretchen Whitmer. And now all of a sudden, he pretends to be a libertarian.
I'm crazy.
And everyone says,
I'm a crazy
he's a
defender. Look at the
He's just letting the states decide. Well, how come he didn't let the states decide earlier for 15 other things? So when push came to shove for him to sit out and other governors to sit out, Republicans weren't libertarians. They were full-blown socialists and communists. And after 2 months of communism that Donald Trump gave a thumbs up to, even Ron DeSantis did for a while, in DeSantis' credit, he's the only politician I've ever heard admit that he screwed up. He said, in hindsight, I would have never locked down. I respect DeSantis 1,000 times more than Trump.
DeSantis
Trump is too big of an idiot or too big of a liar to apologize or say it was the wrong thing. He still says it was the right thing. So only in your head was Donald Trump not involved. He signed the emergency order. He signed all the money printing, mass testing, You think this just happened naturally? He's funneling money and power to these states, giving them everything they need, and then as soon as they screw us over,
I kind of want to play.
He takes his hands off the wheel, and people see, he
Macho.
never had his hands on the wheel. Take your hands off the wheel all the time. This is the Republican Party. They are full-blown socialists when it matters, and then they pretend to be libertarians. I have a screenshot from CPAC. This was like I took 2 pictures. These are 2 pictures to describe the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. I could describe the entire party in 1 picture for each. Are you ready? The picture to describe the Democratic Party in 2020 and 2021 is the picture of that Democrat at the Met Gala. That describes the Republican Party. She has no mask on. She's smiling. She has on a women's rights or social justice dress on, and she's got like 7 women behind her with a mask over their face. That picture describes the Democratic Party. You have these elite women and these elite politicians smiling, acting like they're standing up for you, while everybody's forced in masks looking like a bunch of slaves behind them. That picture describes the Democratic Party perfectly. Here's what describes the Republican Party. There's a sign that says, let me find it real quick because it's pretty funny. It's a sign from CPAC this year, okay? After years of Republicans telling me, oh, we're so free, oh man, we're free in Republican states. It says at CPAC, they did it in Florida, by the way. This was in Florida. CPAC 2021, this was this year. It says repeat offenders of the mask policy will be asked to leave the premises. So, despite being in Florida with conservatives, with one of the biggest conservative organizations, they had a forced mask policy, and they were kicking people out of the hotel who didn't follow the mask policy. If that doesn't describe who Republicans are, I can't tell you what it is. The Democrats go full-blown insane, and the Republicans just lose in slow motion and wear cowboy hats. So, we're so free, patriots. We're fighting the Democrats, but wear a mask or we're going to kick you out of the conservative event. And they did kick people out. I think they kicked out Fleckas and DC Drano. I mean, good for them for not going. I give props to them for not doing it, but how embarrassing. You're kicking out two conservative influencers because they won't wear a mask in Florida in 2021. This is who Republicans are, guys. I'm not trying to be mean, but in your head, they're like George Washington saving the country. In reality, they're socialists and communists who are printing trillions of dollars, funneling money from Big Pharma, getting paid off by the banks and Big Pharma like everybody else, and implementing the same stuff just on a smaller scale. Or they screw up so bad that they lose a bunch of freedom and space, and then they're playing catch-up for the next 5 years doing what they screwed up. The next 4 years is going to be playing catch-up for everything that Republicans and Democrats screwed up in 2020. Now we're playing catch-up just to get back to, I mean, they already screwed up the economy. They're screwing up my stocks again. They're imploding the stock market. But the best I hope for is to get like I hope I can get 3/4 of my freedom back I had in 2019. That's what I want.
One assault vest.
Semi-normally.
One
like
assault
vest.
Game.
I want to be able to go on a cruise. I want to be able
the
to
focus
leave the
band
country.
is nice, but
I'll
just dip out earlier.
Like slaves in our own country. I don't
yeah,
even know
that's
if
what
I can
I'm
leave
saying.
The country again. You can't leave the country in Canada if you're not vaccinated. You can't leave the country in Australia if you're not vaccinated. We're about to not be able to leave the country in America. And this didn't start. Yes, Joe Biden's doing it. Yes, he should be voted out. Yes, we need a Republican. But we need somebody that knows that what Republicans did in 2020 is bullshit. They set us up for all this stuff. You know, I don't want to be a slave in my own country. I don't want to wear a mask at CPAC. I would have never gone. Some of these people went and wore a mask and were taking pictures. I'm not going to a freaking event, a conservative Republican event in Florida, and wearing a mask. Are you kidding me? But that's what they do. Oh, we're conservatives. This is why they get away with it, though. So I'm sorry to be rude and whatever, but it's like we're losing, and people just want to keep losing. Like, people want to make excuses for why we're losing. I'm not saying Ron DeSantis is perfect, because clearly he's going to disappoint us like he already has and will again. But his type of energy, like, he's pushing back against the narrative all the time. If the next person in line can't do at least what Ron DeSantis is doing, if Trump can't do half of what Ron DeSantis is doing, he needs to step the hell out of the way. If conservatives can't call out their own party, then there's no point in thinking you're going to win, because they feel very comfortable. Republicans are very comfortable just giving you half of what the Democratic Party offers. They know they have you, because the Democrats are going crazy right now. So all sane people are starting to realize the Republicans are better. So they know that, yeah, we don't need to do that much. Let's not rock the boat. And I'll end it on this note. You know that when you watch Tom Brady on a commercial, he's doing that commercial because they're paying him, right? He's not doing the commercial because he wants to do it. They're paying Tom Brady. This is what politicians are. When they say certain things, lots of them are being paid to say it. Not all of them, but they... Listen, if I was proven to take $1 million from Pfizer, $1 million from Bank of America, you should question me too. But I'm taking $0 from these people. I don't take money like that. And if I did, you should question me. That's what politicians do. So you got to be critical. When they're saying certain things, Donald Trump doesn't believe what he's saying about the vaccine. He's taken a lot of money from Big Pharma, and he sees it as his legacy now. So he's trying to protect his own ass and act like it was the greatest thing that ever happened in the world, when it clearly wasn't, and he's a complete idiot liar for continuously lying about that. And he shamelessly just can't switch topics. He's going to talk about this for the rest of his life or something, like a Grandpa Moderna. But in general, It's like, this is what politicians do, and this is who they are. In your head, you got all these Republicans that are fighting for you all the time, but you have to understand, in order to run, whether you're Donald Trump or whether you're anybody, you need money from somewhere. Either you got to raise money from people, you got to raise money from corporations, you got to get money from lobbyists. You're not winning an election if you don't have somewhat of money from somewhere. So you have to understand, these people are doing business deals with other people.
How am I alive?
It doesn't make them horrible, but that's what politicians are doing.
I need that, you ass.
Because they want to,
and then you base.
They're the smartest person. They're doing it because they got to that position and they know how the game plays.
This asshole took my fucking berry and based. What the hell?
People think the Republicans like really care about us like a lot. And they kind of do, but also they kind of care about a lot of other things. Big donors, big money. Like, whenever anybody runs, they do these huge events. People pay them money, $10,000 a ticket. You know, it's not just Democrats. Democrats are the biggest sellouts, but Republicans do the same crap. So in your head, you're like, oh, they're going to do all this stuff for me if Trump gets back into office. You're going to do all this stuff for me if we win 2022. And in reality, they're thinking in their head, the safest thing for me to do would be to not rock the boat. Just don't rock the boat. Tell MAGA, yeah, we're doing your thing or whatever. Tell the big businesses, yeah, we'll protect you. Tell the banks, yeah, we'll do what you want to do. You know, tell these people, big pharma, we'll make sure we do your product or whatever. So in your head, they like 100% care about you. But in reality, they're balancing like 5 different things. And sometimes big business speaks louder, because if I'm giving Trump $50 and Pfizer's giving Trump $1 million, he's going to care about the $1 million more. Just like, you know, if I did a deal with somebody and someone paid me $1 million and someone paid me $50, I would care a little bit more about the bigger money. So there's like big donors that lobby both parties, and they spend hundreds of millions of dollars. There's Republicans that spend hundreds of millions, and Democrats who spend hundreds of millions on Democrats and Republicans. These are the people that, if you spend $100 million on Republicans, you want something in return. So this is just the reality of what's going on. Money talks, absolutely. But people don't realize it's happening to their side because they just hate the other side. Well, Rand Paul did this, or Donald Trump did this, or, you know, Nancy Pelosi did this. And the truth is, Nancy Pelosi is probably one of the worst, but there's hundreds of people like that. They're just not as slimy as her. So the reason I say this is the only way they're ever going to change is if people start realizing it. If you just say, you know, let's go Brandon, F Joe Biden, Ilhan Omar's anti-Semitic, and AOC has crazy eyes, which she does, you know, they like that because it makes them look really good, the other side look really bad, and there's zero scrutiny on who they really are, who they're really serving. Like, it's very clear to me that Trump is serving Big Pharma. Like, I'm talking like he's sold the product at least 30 times. Like, he doesn't ever... How are we going to move out of this new Big Pharma hell world if he plays into it and says, control my vaccine save the world? He might as well
go up
a Democrat costume and work for them, because at this point he's indistinguishable. I mean, yeah, he talks about the border and stuff, but overall it's like we're never going to get out of this new reality unless we end this idea that your vaccine saved the entire planet and this is so great and COVID's raging. It's like, bro, shut up. So in people's heads, he's going to save it, but in reality, he's working with hundreds of people. Business owners, corporations, banks, big pharma, you know, donors. He's balancing, like, all these things. So when Donald Trump looks at his base, and when a lot of Republicans look at their base, they're not thinking, oh, yeah, I really have to please them like a lot. They're thinking, like Donald Trump said the one time, he was like, he said something along the lines of, and he's right, by the way, he's right about this. He said I could shoot somebody in the middle of the street and people would still vote for me. He's right. I'm not even mad at that statement because he's completely right. He could literally shoot someone in the street and people would still vote for him. I thought it was funny that he said that, but really, now I'm starting to realize it could go both ways because he doesn't feel like he has to please his base because he knows he's better than a lot of these other idiots. So in Donald Trump's head, he's not even prioritizing us like top 7 right now, and I don't think he has to because he'll probably win the election anyway. So he's in big business meetings, you know, making compromises that you think he wouldn't do, but he's doing it because he can do it. You get what I'm saying? It's like, I guess, you know, I could do this because my base, I could shoot somebody and they'd still vote for me. So I might as well. If people called him out, he'd stop. And I'll tell you what, Someone said, can pharmaceutical stockholders get sued? No. Stockholders? No, they're never going to get sued. The entire industry is protected under the PrEP Act, the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act, and in some cases other clauses.
Oh, we gotta push.
They're protected from the vaccines are protected from side effects, injuries, and deaths. You can't sue the stockholders. You can't sue even the government. They have a little compensation fund or something, but nobody can be sued. I don't know if you can sue your employers, but I believe this. I read somewhere that it ends in 2024, and that's why they're going to keep extending it. This is what people don't realize. Like, they're going to never end this stuff. The floodgates are open. They're just going to keep dragging it out. So, no, I don't believe that stockholders can be sued. Like, no one really can. Maybe someone can be sued, but I don't know. But I don't think so. But in general, the reason I tell people this is not just to rag on Trump, to be edgy or whatever. Thank you for the super chat. I'm doing it because I want people to realize that this is what politics is. Like, this is what they do in the right wing, in the left wing. They take big money, they make compromises, and not everybody cares as much as you care about certain things, and they'll never have to. Because democracy is the perfect system. Like someone was mentioning earlier,
you're joking. They got
dictators, but
you're joking.
That's running the show. You can point to that person and say, it's his fault, right? It's his fault. He's been leading for 20 years.
Shit.
If something's wrong with Russia, it's Putin's fault. If something's wrong with, China, it's Xi's fault. It's no secret. No, there is no, oh, he had bad advisors. Jared Kushner gave him bad advice. No, it's Xi's fault. He's the leader. He's been there for decades. It's his fault. Democracy is the perfect system to never know who to blame. They're both getting lobbied. They're both selling out. They're both making compromises. But there's this great system where they never have to take accountability because they're not a dictator. So, oh, it was him. It was her. I can do it. Vote for me. And then they just pass the baton back and forth. What do Democrats fundraise off of? Do Democrats have anything to say at all? Do Democrats make any sense to anybody with half a brain? They don't. But guess what? They don't have to. They don't have to make sense because they fundraise off of just making fun of Republicans or picking out things that look stupid that Republicans do and brainwashing people into thinking that that's worth funding them over. And then Republicans do the same thing. That's why I say don't go too hard into like the AOC Ilhan Omar
we're all
stuff.
split up
I don't
instead
like
of grouping.
these people, but that's what the right does.
Whatever, dude. This
Them,
stupid ass
self-reflect.
fucking controller, bro.
That's why our
You
system is so
suck.
bad. There's no accountability. There's no accountability
Can't
from
even walk
presidents.
up.
There's no accountability from Fauci. Trump is probably the only person who ever had to take accountability in the White House, and I understand why people revered him.
How did
but
we
now
lose that?
He wants to take no accountability for what he did in
like
2020,
this.
and no accountability for Operation
they
Warp
won't
Speed.
let
He
me
wants
go
to
on the
lie about it for the rest of his
veteran.
life. And he can get away with it because his base wants to fight the other side. This is why democracy, on one hand, it's a great system, but on another hand, it's a terrible system because there is like just a total confusion about where it's all coming from. And then you have the CIA, the FBI, the NIH, the CDC. You've got all these agencies. Like you're trying to like, who do I blame? I'm like, I don't know. It's like everything at once. So. Someone said, I'm inviting you to appear on Discourse Syndicate podcast. Come talk to the Hex community. What did you give me, 1,000 yen? How much is 1,000 yen? Thank you, but
1,000 yen.
I'm just curious.
I think that's like $10
in yen. You trying to buy me off with yen, bro? Let me see. 1,000 yen. It's probably like nothing. Oh, it's $8. Okay.
It's $8.
You trying to buy me off with $8, bro? Trying to get a podcast off of $8. I appreciate it, but you'll have to email me. So
it was
$10
back in the day on the Sweet Life of Zach and Cody.
Sometimes, but it's like, for God's sake, just please hold somebody accountable on your side, like I'm trying to do with Rand Paul and Trump. The reason I go at Rand Paul and Trump is because they're the best, right? If I didn't like them at all, like, oh my God, they're so stupid, they're so bad, I'd never make a video on them. I do it because they're the cream of the crop in the Republican Party, and we need to rise up, You get the best when you're a basketball player. I would never say anything about their family or anything. I'm not God bless Barron and Ivanka and Rand Paul's wife, etc. I would never, like, take personal jams at them and, like, try to disclose private info. That's not what I'm doing, but at the same time, iron sharpens iron. If you're the best basketball team, you got to play the other team. You can't just play little. That's like, oh, we're gonna play the kindergarten team and we're gonna fight the kindergarten team and you're just gonna fund me. It's like, no, you gotta talk to us because you're not doing enough. You guys sucked in 2020. I don't like the rhetoric you're pushing. Trump's selling the vaccine. You're trying to sell a new vaccine. Here's a new narrative. Dude, leave us alone, bro. There's always going to be medicine. There's always going to be injections. Leave us alone, dude.
Exactly.
Operation Warp Speed is a failure. It's not the greatest thing ever. Operation Warp Speed sucks. Look at the chart. Look at COVID in America in August. You know, they started rolling it out in April, May, June, whatever. Like, August, we had more cases this year than last year. Oh, wow, what a huge success. When you had the head of the CDC saying it was going to, you know, prevent transmission. Oh, that's a huge, no, that's a failure. Operation Warp Speed is a total failure. Big Pharma is a total failure. Their opioids are killing people. They're overprescribing children. Kids are getting fatter. Diabetes is out of control. Obesity is out of control. We are a country that's being pumped up with shitty food and shitty pharmacy products. Leave us alone. I don't want a new one. I don't want this one. If you guys can get your shit together, then I'll take your product. But they don't have their shit together, and they just keep wanting to blame us because they don't have their shit together. So I don't want to hear about the new one or the old one. You tried it. The data speaks for itself. You said one thing and you said you saved a lot of lives and it would stop this, and that's not really, you know, I'm not seeing 100 million lives saved. So just stop lying already and let's move on. So that's why I'm going at Rand Paul and Trump. It's not because I hate them. They're the cream of the crop. And if they're the cream of the crop and they're the best we have, I'm not impressed. You know, I want to see them get better. And real quick, one thing that happened last year that I think was very telling, that was like a good thing, you know, Charlie Kirk got challenged, right? Charlie Kirk's a very big conservative. He got challenged, and, you know, he called them racist and homophobic and anti-Semitic. Charlie Kirk's like, oh my God, like, man, these people hate me. Like, you know, they were like all mad at the TPUSA events because, like, there were America First kids coming in and asking questions. Say what you want about these kids. Not all of them are the nicest crowd, but they had real questions to ask Charlie Kirk. And Charlie Kirk hated being challenged from the right wing, but now if you listen to Charlie Kirk, he says the same things that the people were saying 2 years ago to him. So all the people he was complaining about and their takes on immigration, they're now Charlie Kirk's takes. So that's good to be challenged. It's not challenging to just get liberals, oh, I'm blue-haired and I think abortion's good. It's like, yeah, it's easy for Ben Shapiro, the 30-something-year-old male, to dunk on like a 19-year-old at a college campus. And it's funny to watch. I'm not mad at him for doing it, but I think it's time to have some debates. You know what I'm saying? Don't call everybody racist, homophobic, anti-Semitic. Have some debates on the right wing, and maybe we'll actually get better. It's like everybody wants to just dunk on the left all the time. That doesn't make us better. We got to challenge ourselves. Trump, Rand Paul, Shapiro, Kirk, not because we hate anybody, because we love them. And that's when steel sharpens steel. When you get two intellectual people together and they challenge each other. We can't just keep running away and crying anytime. Like, you know, the first time I made the video, and maybe I should have had better rhetoric, people were threatening me, doxing me. I don't really care, but it's like, I'm like, sheesh, all I did was say that Trump is selling the vaccine. Now, everybody says that too. It's like, I see a lot of people saying that. It's like, I didn't say it because I hated him at the time. I just said it because as a man, he should be ashamed of himself. He's out here selling this product and turning his back on the protests. It's like, bro, we don't need more vaccine sales. Everybody on the world knows it exists. We get it, dude. We don't need you to be selling it too. It's like, just stop already. So, you know, it's okay to push back against them. It's not a terrible thing. It doesn't mean you're a Democrat. It means you identify that the two-party system is purposely throwing people back and forth like ping pong balls to the point we're never supposed to get to the core of what's going on. So that's what I'm trying to do, get to the core of it. And Republicans failed us in 2020. They failed us on a state level in almost every state. And Ron DeSantis did a good job to try to recover, and he deserves credit for that. They failed us on a national level in 2020. So I'm not going to sit here and act like Republicans are amazing. 2016 to 2019, I was clapping them on. They did a pretty good job. 2020, they get a freaking 1 out of 10 for me. They sucked. So it's like, tell them they suck, and then they'll get better. If nobody tells them they suck, they think they're awesome because they put Ilhan Omar next to them, and it's like, oh yeah, I look like LeBron James next to Ilhan Omar. So it doesn't make me good because I fight with Ilhan Omar. My content makes me good, and if my content doesn't make me good, then I'm not good. If my whole shtick was like, let me find the dumbest person and just look at them, it's like, at a certain point, I'm going to have to do other things, or else I'm just a one-trick pony. So that's what I demand of these people. But that's what raises the money, so that's why they do it. It's time to challenge them a little bit. That's what we're doing, whether people like it or not. God bless you. I appreciate y'all, and I'll be back soon.
Amazing. Come on. What the fuck? Taz. I just threw up. That's why I have cash out. Jeez.